From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go on this Tuesday afternoon. It's interesting how the day goes on. You're going to have stories that are breaking news stories that could jump up the top that weren't even on the rundown. Our interview segment with G.J. Kinney has been postponed, so that will be moved back to another day. But Steve Sarkisian giving us some interesting fodder and discussion. We'll get to that in just a minute. The UT football coach. By the way, UCF Director of Athletics, Terry Mohajer, full throttle today from earlier. We'll have that at around 3:30. But let's get to the story. Matt Hayes, who we've had on this show, USA Today, interviewed Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian. And what he called, initially the title of the story, Craig, was he goes scorched earth on college football, the Wild West culture. When the richest program says it's out of control, you can believe it. Before we get to some of the quotes, Craig, your thoughts when you saw some of this popping earlier today?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as we'll get to, and what's up, chat? What's up, everybody out there watching? Appreciate you for joining us today. I guess my first thought was thank you for some fun things to talk about. My second thought was, what the hell did Ole Miss do to piss everybody off?
Yeah.
And I think everybody's kind of wondering that same thing after the comments from Lane Kiffin. Throwing racism like into the mix and talking about them and the differences between LSU and Ole Miss, just seemingly out of nowhere to some degree. And then today you have Steve Sarkisian, who's directly pointing them out and talking about how they are not a serious school, basically, in so many words, and how the standard at Texas is much higher and much different than the standard at Ole Miss as far as that all goes. And so, I just was wondering what the hell Ole Miss did to piss everybody off. I don't know if they're being viewed as like a bit of a wounded duck and an easy target to take shots at and take down right now, or if it's just something that's been bubbling up under the surface where it all timing-wise came together, where in 48 hours we've had two of the SEC's most prominent head coaches taking direct major shots at Ole Miss that aren't just like, you cheat in recruiting or you're a scumbag. It's like, you're racist and you're also, you don't have any serious education. It's like, what the hell, man? Like, what in the world? So I think Ole Miss fans heads are kind of spinning a little bit. I'm sure Pete Golding's like, what in the world? But yeah, I'm ready to dig into some of what Sark had to say.
We will do that. I saw where Brandon Marcella, who also had a story today on Redbird Capital, they sat down with the two CEOs. We'll have that. But Marcelo going, a month ago, Will Muschamp said this. They've got to have a good transcript. Actually, our players go to school here in Texas. We actually go to class. So something is clearly, as you said, Craig, upset UT and others in the SEC. And when Paxton asked me what's going on, I said they're winning. They're good. And so there is that as well. So here are the quotes from Steve Sarkisian from inside the article, USA Today, tampering. There's a reason in the NFL. When you get caught tampering, you get drilled. You lose draft picks. You don't practice the right way. You lose practice days. Coaches get fined. There are a lot of things in place to protect their rules and guardrails. Right now in college football, there's no fear. People do whatever they want. So let's stick that one up and discuss it for a little bit, Craig Smoke.
Yeah, I mean, this was talking about, the obvious issue that's been out there for a while now when it comes to people going and grabbing other people's players, and certainly Ole Miss caught in the mist on both sides of this. I mean, being the victim of it to some degree. But also being one of those poachers. I mean, Dabo was the one that came out and directly accused Ole Miss, if you'll remember, from just a couple of months ago, and went on the record about that. Pete Golding had his response eventually, but by the time he responded, it was just not really anything worth further talking about, and the story had kind of run its course. Dabo had said what he said, and it was all just sort of left there. But yeah, I think on the case of tampering, it's a major problem right now. It's something that you do hope can get under control, and yet it feels like there's no real police force that's keeping everybody in line right now. So I think for even the biggest schools like Texas, tampering's an issue. For every school, it's an issue, and it's just a frustration that is something you'd rather not have to deal with. And the only way I think to not have to deal with that would be contracts and things of that nature where there's heavy penalties. Now, I know there's kind of sort of things, but not to the degree, obviously, that coaches want them. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think pointing out that tampering exists and is a major problem is really anything that no other coach has said before. So, yeah, I think Sark's pretty much in line with everybody else out there, except for maybe Pete Golding and a couple of other guys that have taken full advantage of it. And you know what? I'm sure Texas has tampered a time or two. I highly doubt that no one on their staff has ever slid a DM before the end of the season to some star prospect that they maybe have a prior relationship with. But it's kind of one of those things where, well, everybody's doing it. We don't like it, but since they're doing it, we got to kind of have to do it too, even though if we had our choice, we wouldn't want to do it. Everybody doesn't really want to do it, but they are all doing it because they all have to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with keeping themselves as sharp as possible. So, yeah, tampering exists. Tampering is rampant, and that's obvious.
He is 100% right in what he is saying, that there are consequences. The NFL will pop you. They'll take away draft picks and all the other things that can go with that. Now to the College Football Playoff Committee, which, of course, UT was left out. You got
yeah, and I guess I should follow up more on that specifically of like, yeah, there should be – you're talking about like the losing draft picks part and all of that. Yeah, like that.
Yep.
To that point specifically, yeah, I think if you were to have punishments like the NFL does, then there's not even the bravest of souls who are not afraid to break any of the rules. Like there's a way to tighten that to where no one crosses that. Like Kiffin doesn't dare even try to like cross that line because they could turn around and say, all right, you're banned from the postseason. And this isn't one of you're going to go sue us and then you're going to get your way. And no. Like that's the rule. The rule is if you do this and we find you did this, that's it. And no like funny business in Mississippi court or things like that. They're nowhere close to that sort of a structure or system right now. If they could get there, though, it would be glorious, and it would be very interesting to see how well some coaches played within the rules if they were only allowed to play within the rules and not outside of them. So, yeah, I think Sark is a guy, too, who's been in the NFL, who's been rumored recently to maybe even be looking back towards it. I think he's got a great gig at Texas that you wouldn't leave for any other job in the world right now. But you can easily see why guys like him or in general would be pretty just annoyed and worn down by this complete lack of any repercussions for bending the rules or breaking the rules, whatever those rules may be. So, yeah, I think when you start looking at the future, and I think he's got some more NFL references, certainly that part is an area where they could be much, much better and much more of a business with real rules that would prevent people from trying to draw outside the line so much.
All right, you're right. There are consequences, and they will take a first-round pick or multiple picks or whatever else might be the case. Finding people when you're worth billions, or in university athletic departments are worth hundreds of millions and some worth billion or so, that's not going to do it. It used to be the NCAA would put you on probation. You couldn't be in bowl games or that, and that was a big deal, and you didn't want that call. That's like the IRS calling up that you're going to have to look at your taxes from 22.
Yeah, I think
that's not there anymore.
No, and I think that you can't obviously take away draft picks, but if you said, all right, Coach B, you were found to have been tampering, or your assistant coach got in the DMs, and we have a no whatever policy, like it doesn't matter what the excuse is. Oh, well, I knew him when he was a friend of my former assistant coach or whatever. It's like, all right, no. You were found tampering by the letter of the laws that we've laid out here. And because of that, yeah, you can't coach practice for the month of April or the month of September. Like you're not allowed at practice, period. That would stop some things. If you said, hey, Lane, Dabo, Brian Kelly, like whoever, I'm just throwing names out there. You were found to have an assistant coach, or you were in a deal. You can't coach for a game. You're missing the Auburn game. You can't coach. You think those guys wouldn't real quick suddenly find a way to follow all the rules by the letter of the law? Absolutely they would. So the complete lack of any of that really, and even monetary fines are depending on the school. It's like when you see some of these pro sports franchises, like we find them $50,000 and it's like, well, they just pull that out of their sock. Yeah. Like, I mean, like, so what? That doesn't deter much. But I do think you hit him heavy enough, then yeah, his whole point is that there's just no repercussions whatsoever.
Terry Mohajir again at 3:30, but we got a lot more to go to with this story with Matt Hayes. College Football Playoff Committee, as I mentioned, UT was on the outside looking in, as were one to two or three other schools that felt like they had a pretty good case. The committee doesn't have the bandwidth to watch that many games, Sark says. They see the media and coaches' polls, and they copy them. You've got a 12-team playoff. That means there are at least 30 teams that impact it. Now, all of a sudden, you want to go to 24. Now the polls become an even greater factor because you're asking the committee to watch 40 teams a week, if not 50. Let's do that top paragraph first. Now, we'll go to the second one. I'm a football junkie. When we don't play, I'm watching Quad Box because it's what I love. But I can't keep up. I don't vote anymore in the coaches poll because it's not fair for me to vote. I couldn't tell you how NC State played against Wake Forest. How could I know?
Yeah, I mean, I understand his point there. I don't understand, though, the lack of a follow-up. So what would you like to see then? I didn't see that in this article, and maybe I just missed that. But, yeah, you're right. We are probably far too reliant on polls, and it's clear as of last year there are some people that are not able to or are not watching all of these games, and there's just like some egregious placements of some teams that were highlighted heavily a year ago. And ultimately don't know how much they really played into the overall big picture, but the concern is that they could, and maybe they have in the past. And so you want to prevent that as much as possible. I think that's where a lot of people have a hard time agreeing on one way to kind of set this all up is there's a lot of anti-committee people. There's a lot of anti-computer people. There's a lot of people that feel like you need a little bit of both. And then those people say, well, that's what we had with the BCS, and the BCS was great. And then people like me say, no, the BCS had some things that maybe you'd want to take from it. But the BCS sucked, in my opinion. It was very little drama. It was just these top two teams, and I just found it to be very boring, quite frankly. I was not a fan of the BCS. I don't say there weren't any benefits. The surrounding bowls mattered a lot more. Now they're just semifinal games, and so they're still filled with meaning, but it's not quite the same when your season ended winning the Sugar Bowl. That just doesn't happen anymore unless that's the national title game, and that's one of like 5 teams that gets to win that. So it had its charm for that reason. But as far as like the actual setup of it, I do think we need a balance of data and also a human element. But I don't know that anybody's really pinpointed the best way to do that. And until we get to that point, I think any ideas up for grabs, but I certainly don't have the solution. Doesn't sound like he necessarily has a solution either. I mean, his gripe is the selection committee. There's no transparency on what exactly the committee is doing. We have to figure that out. So that I do agree with in the big picture. So he did have that comment, but I'm not sure if he like presented his own idea, because as far as the polls and stuff go, like what do you change? Like we're going to like test every voter every week to make sure they watched as many games as possible. Like how are we going to police that? So you don't want to get entirely rid of the human element and just have it be the computers. So yeah, I understand his frustrations, but it also sounds like he's trying to find the answers as well. And so I think ultimately that will become a mixture of things, not unlike the BCS to some degree, but changed because it's been 20-something years since that was first implemented. But yeah, I think the committee and transparency in general is something we could stand to have a lot more of, and a lot less of the theater and the dramatics and the presentation that they put forth in the public.
In some of this story by Matt Hayes in USA Today, he also had counters, for example, from General Clark on how they go about it and what they do, and a few other notes too. At the bottom, everyone talks about NIL, but my biggest gripe is the selection committee. There's no transparency on what exactly the committee is doing. We have to figure that out. My solution is put them on camera, but they're there for hours. Make it into a documentary or whatever you do with these 360s or these teams that have the networks falling around. The problem is they're there for 2 or 3 days in a row, and it's hard to buttonhole that up. And how much of that would they let you see anyway?
Yeah, I don't think they'd be in favor of doing that. I think they'd be a lot less willing to be a part of this process if you were having to have them on camera for 12 hours and everything they say is on public record. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it that way either. I'd want to be able to feel like I could speak freely and not leave that meeting and then have Twitter fans of the school that I questioned for 5 seconds just to make sure they were getting the right look. Suddenly their fans are in my mentions because they were watching the live stream of that's not going to do anybody any good or make the process better. So as far as the transparency piece, again, that's something that I think if you just took away some of the early setting of the table that they do, or some of the along the way setting of the table that they do, where they put themselves into a corner, then maybe it would alleviate some of that, because you're not going off of these very confusing things they said that they're setting themselves up almost for failure or disaster, like with the Miami situation last year, or kind of the way that was going there for a while. But I'm with Sark on just in general, the transparency of the committee. There's got to be a better way to do that whole process. And I don't have the answer for that personally, but I'm with him on the frustrations of feeling like we don't always get the full story as far as the conversations behind the scenes go.
All right, let's go to another part of the article. It is about the transfer portal and academic progress towards a degree. At Texas, Sark said, and I saw him say this about 2 to 4, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, about where they stood academically. At Texas, we only take 50% of a player's academic credit hours. You may be a semester from graduating, but you're going to go all the way back to 50% if you play here and want a degree. And then here's the kicker. But at Ole Miss, they can take you. All you have to do is take basket weaving, and you can get an Ole Miss degree. Well, I started looking around. I was like, okay, he's just joking, but that's not even something you would joke about. And so, Craig, your thoughts about Sark with a little bit of a upset about perhaps there were going to be some schools in the SEC that you wanted to leave for that were not quite at the same standard that you are academically. Same thing was in the Big 12. So is this now all of a sudden wanting to try to say some things to eventually change some things when it comes to academics, et cetera, with the SEC?
Well, I think something that Texas is able to brag about when it suits them, and it's something it should suit them all the time, because it's something worth bragging about, is how good their academics and everything are. But at the same time, it's clear that it's hurting them getting the best players all the time, versus an Ole Miss who's got a door that's much larger and wider to walk through, apparently academically, than Texas does. And I think that tracks. I've never gone to look up Ole Miss in comparison to Texas in the rankings. All I know is Texas is always very high amongst the public universities and is considered one of the top 10-ish types of schools overall total package in the country. So that's a place to really be proud of. But if the name of the game is winning football and the name of the game is winning basketball and the name of the game is just winning and doing this and that, then yeah, you can see where that's maybe a little bit of an anchor for them, versus somebody who can just say, it doesn't matter what your transcript says, you're here and you're clear and you're free to play football for Ole Miss, versus, I don't know, man, like these credits, these aren't lining up the same way. And I don't think we could take you at Texas. And is that the difference between getting like a 5-star wide receiver and a 4-star running back going to Oxford versus Austin? I suppose it's happened to the point where he's frustrated about it enough to call them out by name. Like,
right.
It'd be one thing if he was just saying this in general. He's specifically calling out Ole Miss the way Dabo Swinney specifically called out Ole Miss. Now, Lane did it in a totally different manner, like a different topic. Like Dabo's was transfer portal and tampering.
Dabo threw the damn evidence out on the table.
Like Dabo said, y'all are tampering. Here's the proof of it. And here's me, and I'm not backing down. And I'm actually, unlike every other coach in America, going to name names. And I guess he's got everybody riled up to now everybody's just saying Ole Miss. Whereas before it was like shadowy figure in the corner or unnamed school C or whatever. Now everybody's like Ole Miss, Ole Miss, Ole Miss, which is just hilarious. But yeah, I think it's a frustration because it's something that they have to deal with that not every school has to deal with. And he, as somebody at a school that has good academics that matter, would like that to be upheld and be the standard across the country. And he's able to say that from a place where he's actually going, no, I'm pro academics. Academics should still matter. And I think a lot of people do agree with him and feel like, yeah, academics should matter. Now, he's also selfishly saying that because academics are hurting them versus the schools that have lower standards. So from both angles, he would like everybody to have to play by the same rules academically, and he also feels like academics should matter, which is what he should say, because it's at a place where academics do matter. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense, and you can see where that would be frustrating, that you can't take everybody that the school you play on a near yearly basis can take.
Well, when the Big Eight and the Southwest Conference formed, and remember the Southwest Conference was bleeding to death, the Big Eight was pretty solid right there in the middle of the country, but they had their faults too. And one of the things that they went after was Nebraska. Prop 48 and players that, you had kind of a sliding scale. I don't know the exact details, but they wanted that changed. And that hurt Nebraska. And don't think that UT didn't know that. And what was interesting about that is they got everybody else on board to get that done. And then all of a sudden, players that were maybe on the edge of being eligible based on their ACT, SAT, or whatever, coming out of a community college or junior college, it got to them. It was smart for them to do that as far as the conference. It didn't take effect right away, but eventually it did. And they knew what they were doing when they did it.
Yeah, so he's speaking from the pulpit of a guy who's the head coach at UT Austin, and those things matter, and it makes a lot of sense what he's saying. You can sense his frustration as well. Like I said, I think he's in a job that's a dream job that you don't ever leave under really any circumstance, unless you were just a kid that grew up in like New York City and your dream was to be the Giants head coach. Like that's the only way you would leave for another job based on where you are right now. But I also do think it shows like there's some frustrations brewing, that not everything's just hunky-dory and perfect as far as he sees it, obviously. And that's the case for every coach in the entire sport. But it's just interesting when it's coming from that place, because that place has seemingly every advantage known to man, but actually education is a disadvantage. To hear him say it in so many ways as far as getting the best players go is also interesting. In the article, they pointed out that Dabo spoke at ACC meetings and said he still hasn't heard from the NCAA.
Now, I saw that.
And this man's claimed he's got receipts, he's got pictures, he's got like all this evidence. And this was 2-3 months ago that this came out, and he has not heard from the NCAA. Like
probably,
that to me,
won't.
That to me was just really alarming to read that. I understand they're very busy folks, but that right there is a prime example of why this current setup is just not what it needs to be the best version of itself. Like my whole thing with all these changes people are recommending, and all the changes that clearly do need to happen, like things do need to be tightened up or made official or whatever. I just want to see the best version of the sport. And I don't think that is necessarily becoming the NFL 2.0. I don't think that's also trying to put all of the worms back in the box. Like, I don't think that's possible, but I do think there's a middle ground, and there's some really cool improvements and cool things that you can do. But to have somebody on the record accusing somebody else, another head coach at two pretty big schools, of out and out tampering, which is supposed to be a no-no, and is sitting there going, I have the evidence, I have pictures, and you haven't contacted him in 2-3 months. What are we even doing here? Now, maybe it's like a police investigation where a murder happens and they got to do their due diligence, right? They've got to like cross the T's and dot the I's and gather the evidence and do all those things. But this guy's had evidence. He's got like the gun, and you haven't asked for it for like 3 months now. You haven't even asked to see it. So that's very confusing. That part of it had nothing to do with Sark, but I was just like, how has he not had contact from anybody in the NCAA?
It's not confusing to me, because even though what Sweeney said, and it was damning, although I never saw it other than what the press conference and then some stories that followed, is that,
But that led into Sark's points about we all signed up. We all say we want rules.
Right.
And then there's no rules.
No, no, it's not. And that's one I like a lot of what he said. Some things I was like, oh, damn. The other thing is that
or I should say, maybe there's not no rules. It's like how he said it. He said, we all sign up and say we want rules, and then when we don't like it, we go to the attorney general and then we sue. That's actually what he said.
That gets to a story we'll have later in the show, the arbitration case, Nebraska's case against College Sports Commission, that they lost. And now that doesn't mean it's over, because of, again, the attorney general. That's what you were bringing that up. Now, to the future Super League. There's a lot of sentiment for breaking away and having your own rules. That's realistic. You're going to sign up or you don't. But if you do, here's our rules. Here's how this thing is going to work. They can have their own rules. They don't have to worry about a college sports commission or the NCAA or whatever, however they're going to do this, whether it's 32, 48, 65, or how many teams. These are the rules. And if you pop them, we're going to have somebody that's going to pop you. Now, I don't know how deep they can get into that, but that's kind of the part of if you do a breakaway.
Yeah, and there's some things that were just kind of like crumbs along the way, like we could circle back to. I mean, the academic thing, not only does he complain about the Ole Miss thing, but he also just points out of like, hey, a lot of these guys aren't going to play in the NFL. This is why academics are important. I just want to like lump that in because we're not covering every single thing that he said. And there's also some responses, like you mentioned Rich Clark. I thought Mario Cristobal actually had a great response to what Sark said. But yeah, as far as the rules and this particular quote right here, I mean, we just discussed the part that he said about not so much a lack of rules, but we want rules, and then we turn around and sue and we go to our attorney general. And that's so true because we've seen that with all of these eligibility cases, basically. This specifically, I think that part of the appeal of breaking away is to have rules. I think that's part of the appeal, is to go and start something where everybody's playing by the same rules like the NFL, and there's not we'll just go sue. It's like, no, to be a part of this league, you sign whatever you need to sign that ensures that there's no, I'm going to turn around and go to my attorney general the moment you rule against me and tell me no. It's almost like these schools are like little kids that don't get their way, and the moment they don't learn the lesson. They just run over to like the other parent and tattle and like try to get their way. But there's not going to be any of that. There's no running away once you get in trouble and you go try to get a lawyer and take us to court. If you're a part of the Super League, you play by these rules like the NFL does and the NHL and MLB and whatever. You sign a contract and that's it. Like, these are the rules. There's no suing. There's no doing any of this other jazz, trying to find roundabout ways to still get what you want, but kind of outside the lines. Like, no, that's not going to fly either. So, yeah, you could see from somebody in his position where you're maybe losing out on talent due to academics that are actually hurting you, but you're a fan of academics because it's what's best for the athletes who aren't going to go play at the next level, is to get a degree from the University of Texas. And a guy who's frustrated by the playoff committee because they got, in his eyes, snubbed last year and got left out of the playoff. And so now his feelings, like Alabama's the year before, is he's a little sour about that, as any coach in that position probably would be. I know the answer is, well, don't lose to so-and-so, and that is true, but clearly, like, Texas has their argument, and we've been hearing it all offseason about how they got screwed or how things should have been. Well, we won't play Ohio State now. It's like, so that's in his brain. And amongst these other things, I think when you're at a point where all these things are sort of out of your control, it's probably really appealing to know you'd be a part of whatever this would look like, and you'd be one of the faces of it. And it would be really cool in your spot to not have to worry about tampering, to not have to worry about people raiding your roster, breaking the rules, not have to worry about every time you make a decision, you're getting sued out of that decision. It would be nice to just have things work like a real business, like a real organization where no one's trying to constantly cheat the system to get their unfair advantage. Even though that's college sports and that's college football, we are so moving towards something that is more in the vein of the NFL that, yeah, for him and probably for a lot of other coaches in positions like his, they would love something that would make a lot more sense.
All right. So we'll have Terry Mohajir in just a moment, and it's a lengthy interview, but I want to get to one more. So this is Florida head coach John Sumrall reacting to the article and the quotes from Steve Sarkisian. Grateful to coach at a top 10 public university that also offers advanced basket weaving.
Yeah, John Sumrall, I didn't follow him much, I guess, in the social media space before he arrived at where's John Sumrall now? I'm thinking of Florida. Yeah, I was thinking of Alex Golish. I was getting it confused in my head. Florida, but I guess I'm going to have to pay more attention now because I was not familiar with your game. That's a great little shot. I think that's the type of fun you hope to see these head coaches having on social media. We know Lane Kiffin dabbles. He trolls. And from time to time, you see another coach kind of pop off or something. But, yeah, John Sumrall, that's a a nice little response there. And I think just a fun response. And I don't know where it came down to where basket weaving was like the choice du jour of anytime you want to make a point about how another school's academics aren't great, or you want to bring up an example of the classes that some athletes are taking that really aren't that really tough. Basket weaving seems to be the one that always gets brought up. Like, I don't know who put that into the ether as far as where that became just like the common go-to example for easy classes in college is basket weaving. Because I know people who took bowling. I know people who took all sorts of stuff. But yeah, basket weaving is the popular choice. So good on John Summerall for having a little fun with this.
There are some degrees that athletes are put in that are maybe a little bit less stressful. I remember using, or not me, but hearing that term. Yeah, and he's also majoring in basket weaving back when I was 50 years ago in college. Retired stockbroker, super chat. Speak with transparency or speak with forked tongue. Thank you for the super chat on that. So we appreciate that. Dennis Haiti had a comment here that mentioned his point is also high academic standards limits the ability to get a player to transfer for their final year of eligibility when the player knows that they will not be able to graduate from their current school.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sark, I think to your point, said that you transfer to Texas and all of a sudden you're rolled back
50%.
Versus if you just stayed where you are. So yeah, there's more incentive to stay where you are or to go to another school and just keep your coursework going as planned, as opposed to taking a step back, basically the way he makes it sound by going to Texas. So yeah, I mean, it's a deterrent to go to Texas. If you're suddenly within reach and you're a semester or two away from a degree, and now you go to Austin and they're like, well, you're 2 years away because these classes or these credits don't transfer. Yeah, that would definitely be a deterrent for some guys who do care about the degree or close enough to taste it, and all they're trying to do is get that and play a little ball. Then maybe there's another offer from a similar school in the same league or close to the Big Ten or whatever, just something that you like that's more of a nice choice to make because you can get your best of both worlds, whereas with Texas, you can get the football, but now your academics are taking a different turn. So, yeah, that's definitely something that would prohibit some guys from going to play at Texas, and you can see where that would really be a thorn in Sarkisian's side for sure.
So when Paxton did ask me, he goes, why are so many people on Ole Miss's ass? And I'm going back to what I said. They're winning. They're good. They're winning. They got great recruiting. I know there's a change with Kiffin to LSU, but they're winning. And a lot of times that kind of and you lose it a recruiting battle or two or three, and you don't like the way you lost it. And then again, I did see this. I'll bring this up too. I saw some response to like UT is a hellacious academic institution and also have tremendous tradition in athletics, but it's not like they're at a disadvantage no matter what. It's not like they have these disadvantages unless you do it enough to where they get a little pissed off about it.
Yeah, I mean, they have more advantages than most, but that doesn't mean if you're Sark, you're not fighting to have everything that you can possibly have. So if you're being hurt by the academics, you still want academics to matter because that's part of the school you chose to coach for. And at the same time, you're being dinged by it. So you just want everybody to be on an even playing field. I don't think that's, I mean, maybe it's being a little bit selfish, but in the way we would all be selfish, right? I mean, you'd want there to be a standard across the board and everybody to play by the same rules. Now, granted, they stand to gain more than anybody, except for maybe a handful of other schools, by everybody playing by the same rules, because then once it all becomes equal in the areas where it's not equal is where they can really stand above and thrive. So, yeah, I think there's some things that he would like to see changed, and it's no different from any other coach. I just think Sark went in depth, whereas a lot of guys dance around or maybe touch on a couple of points. He kind of hit the gamut of everything to talk about. And there's actually a couple things. And I know we got Mohajir, but I want to finish this out because I find it interesting. So yeah, the basket weaving thing was funny. And I would just love to know the history of that. Like that would be a great little,
I'm going to look
like
it up.
John Boyce deep dive or
I'm
like something like that.
I'm going to go to my favorite website, A1, and look it up. Go ahead.
What is A1?
AI. I do that on purpose.
Okay, it's not that funny, but A1 it's not a site. There's like 1,000 AI sites, but yeah. Anyways, the comment he made about the playoff, He said, I'd go back to a 4-team playoff, have your own conference playoff to get the 4 teams if you want more inventory for your television partners. So he's in favor of play-in, like a mini playoff per conference, and then a 4-team playoff overall. He says we have to think outside the box. Just adding teams and going to 24, that's a very spastic view, thinking that's going to solve the problem. Forever in college athletics, we don't think about the unintended consequences of decisions we make. It's all knee-jerk reactions. Look where it has gotten us. And, like, you get amen from the back of the church. Like, yeah, I think everybody agrees with that. How do you feel about a 4-team SEC playoff to get to one of 4? Like, here's the thing. The problem with that is the immediate thing that jumps to mind is, so the SEC would only get 1 spot. That's not happening.
No.
So so he'd have to dive a little bit more, because if you did a 4-team playoff, like a conference playoff, to get to the 4 teams, he'd have to dive further, because he left out some details, because there's no way you would do like the 4 SEC teams play each other, Georgia wins it, or Bama or Texas, and then they go take one of 4 spots. They'd want like both the teams in the championship game based on, well, reality and everything we've seen from that conference. So the playoff play-in conference playoff is something I've heard thrown around by various corners of the college football world. I think there's some elements that are intriguing about it, but I've never seen somebody totally land the landing, so to speak. So I would need to know more about his details on how that would work. But I am in agreement with him on the fact that college football kind of just says, let's do this and we'll worry about the rest of it later. Let's go to 24, and then we'll figure it out after we go to 24, because we just need to grab the money. And then once we get the money, we'll sort it all out, and then we'll figure out like how to clean up the mess we just made in our pursuit of all this money. So that was interesting. I'd love to hear him talk about that a bit more. So hopefully there'll be some follow-up later on, maybe this summer or something. And I also got to mention the Cristobal thing, because he was pointing out the strength of schedules, and obviously that was a big bitch for Texas a year ago.
Miami lost to 2 teams.
Yes.
That were not ranked or not a part of the playoff.
They lost 2 unranked teams.
Yeah, 2 unranked teams.
So he said Mario Cristobal is a friend of mine, and they had a tremendous season. Miami lost to 2 unranked teams last year. What would their record have been if they played our schedule? And we've heard Texas say that a bunch. We've heard Sark say that a bunch. What would our record have been if we played theirs, but their scheduling and equity? And I love that it said Cristobal has a simple response. We beat the 3 SEC teams we played, including the team Texas lost to. So I felt like that was short, sweet, and a nice little rip right back. And obviously it's all just coaches competing and all in good fun ultimately. But that was just a fun little exchange. And I think they both got their points in and both landed them. But, yeah, I think Miami more than proved itself by the end. They actually played for the title. So I don't think that's really what it was when you were saying that 7 months ago. Matt
Hayes is great at what he does. We've had him on USA Today, and a story again about Sarkisian and many things. The title of it, if you want to look at it, I don't know if it's a paywall. I don't know if it's a paywall, but basically Sarkisian kind of launching up. And a lot of what he said I agree with. Not everything. There's some things maybe a little bit over the top, but I appreciate the fact he's being honest about it. Now, I went to Reddit and Quorum about the basket weaving.
Let me give you one more quote and then get to that one.
All right.
But here's kind of how he summed it up. Think about where we are today, and that was not that long ago. I like this quote. I want to get it in.
Then say it. Yeah,
I'm getting to it. Then I get to Texas in 2021, and the entire world changes. Conference realignment, of which we are a major player. NIL, free player movement, 12-team playoff, revenue sharing, and now we're talking about a 24-team playoff. No one takes a breath to reset. It's all reactionary. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. We've ran that down a million times, but just putting it that simply, no one takes a breath to reset. It's all reactionary is
I agree.
Absolute bullseye.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in fact, Terry Mohajir, I asked him about the expansion of what's happening with college football, and he has a good answer on that. Too bad the 1956 letter to the editor of the LA Times is behind a paywall, but it described college athletes as majoring in underwater basket weaving or the preparation of serving smorgasbord, or particularly at Berkeley, the combined course of anatomy and panty raids. So there was some of the history of when it all started back right about the time this old man was born.
Yeah. It's an old idiom, I guess is the proper word to use. It's been used for decades now. So that's why it feels like I've heard that for decades, because it's been tossed about for decades, especially in college sports, college football circles specifically. So, yeah, and it's legit course, as John Summerall pointed out. He didn't say the underwater part, but basket weaving, you can take that at Florida, at University of Florida, apparently.
Try going underwater and doing basket weaving and how easy that would be. Make sure you have a snorkel or you're a Navy SEAL or something like that where you can stay down there to get it done.
That's actually part of the scuba diving training is to do that stuff, like stay underwater and perform a task.
That's why those guys are the ones we have that go and do the hardest things in the history of the world to invade or go find people or protect our country. When we come back, he's the director of athletics at UCF. Terry Mohajir, visited with him earlier today. We go in detail about many things, including Redbird Capital, including the Big 12, and are they settled in now and know what they need to do and their expansion and Scott Frost era number 2. Much more to get to with that. Terry Mohajir from UCF is next, and this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Ted Teague is the CEO and general manager. Also, David Gray handles the entire sales department. Trey McDade is also involved in new car sales. Right now, this is what they have with the Declaration of Deals sales event. Incredible offers on quality pre-owned inventory, whether you're looking for a rugged Ram truck, an adventurous Jeep SUV, or a family ride 4-door sedan. Looking for dependable, great value? They have them certified pre-owned cars on the lot. That's what I bought back in the summer. In fact, about 6 years ago this month. Also, the Alan Samuels, 1,500 the Ram, 1,500 Laramie, savings up to $13,000 off MSRP. Pre-qualified buyers can just get also on top of that 2.9% financing for up to 72 months. So those are opportunities, discounts, offers, deals. The Ram trucks win awards every single year. And on top of that, Jeep with the Wagoneer, Cherokee, Jeep Grand Cherokee, and more. And the great pre-owned opportunities there for you as well. It's Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Broker is your Lennox premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
We're celebrating the Declaration of Deals at Alan Samuels in Waco. Right now, get $13,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. Cash in on $13,000 off a new Ram 2500 Laramie Crew Cab, or choose 0% for 36 months, plus no payments for 90 days. Feel secure with America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Alan Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB, your bank for life, takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Extreme Texas weather calls for Ray Broker, your Lennox Premier dealer. Sign up for our year-round comfort plan and keep your home the perfect temperature no matter what the forecast is. Call or visit raybroker.com now. Ray Broker, your air conditioning and heating specialist.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
It's been too long. Terry Mohajer, Director of Athletics at UCF with me. David Smoke. The Smoke Show on 365 Sports. It has been too long, and my goodness, so many things have changed, and yet, Terry, so many things seem to be the same. There's like, I don't know what to do day by day, what's going to change, but how you been, and where are you as an athletic department right now with the way things are?
Well, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me back on the Smoke Show. It's fantastic. And it has been a long time. And thank you for having me on today. It's, I think things are fine. I think, change is inevitable in our business. Change is inevitable with our athletes, our coaches, administrations, college campuses, legislators, boards. So you have to adapt. And you can sit there and, cry in your drink or you can just adapt. And I think that's what we have. It's hard to be, it has been a little challenging to have strategic plans because the rules keep changing, but you just have to have plan A, B, and C, and then go from there. I really believe that we've attacked this, especially not only have we done a really good job from a UCF standpoint, but transitioning into the Big 12. I told all of our fans, I said, listen, the most important thing right now is patience, continuity, and stability is extremely important right now. I've been through conference realignment 7 times, three times in the Big 12. Worked at 3 Big 12 schools, and so I knew this was gonna, be a little challenging. Not to mention with the unlimited transfers that you can have and NIL and rev share and all those different challenges. But, we feel really good. We're competitively resourced. No excuse. Do we have the most money in the country? No. Do we have the least money in the country? No. Just, you got to do what you've always done. You still got to evaluate. You still got to develop, and you got to coach kids up and young people up. And you have to want to coach the kids that you coach, and they have to want to be coached. That's never going to change. I don't care how much money you pay them. That's never going to change. And so you as an evaluator and a coach, you have to have those 3 principles. You've got to have an evaluation, development, and kids you want to coach and kids that want to be coached, period.
I was going to ask you, you answered one of the other questions I had for today, is that the transition from where you were into the Big 12. And sometimes it might take a couple of years, if anything, just to know the landscape and to know where you're going and all of that. It seemed like that has been pretty smooth for you. It doesn't happen overnight, but you guys had a hell of a game plan.
Yeah, and thank you for recognizing that. And I really believe that we have too. It's not just about funding and who you're playing. It's about travel, where to stay, how to navigate that whole thing. You're playing Mountain Time, you're playing Pacific Time, knowing when to travel, when to go out there, all those elements. I do think that we've got a lot of momentum right now. 7 of our 8 teams in the spring have been ranked in the top 25. Mm-hmm. We'll have, with the advent, and hopefully baseball continues, we'll have 10 of our 16 teams in the NCAA tournament this year. And so we feel really good about it. We're working on football. Basketball made a leap this year. Women's basketball, I think we got a really good coach that's going to really compete at a high level in this league. And football's on the right track. When Scott Frost came in, he had 70 new players. I think that guy behind the center is always the big piece. And, I think he's kind of solved those issues. He's done a really good job evaluating. And in my evaluation of my coaches, I think my men's basketball and my football coach has done a really good job of evaluating talent and to fit their coaching philosophies, their coaching schemes, And I think they've also done a really good job developing, especially Johnny Dawkins. I mean, he's had a bunch of guys that were not highly sought after in the portal.
Right.
He's brought it. They've left. They've all left for millions of dollars. And he's still maintained to have 2 back-to-back 20-win seasons. And you see a lot of momentum there. So we're real excited about him as well.
He seems to be like happy, Scott. We had him on Big 12 Media Days. He seems to be at peace with himself and everything else as well.
Yeah, I think so. Anytime, I was a young coach when he was at Nebraska. I was working at the University of Kansas. And, I think anytime you've had traumatic experience like that, you have to take a step back and look at and self-reflect. And, I do think he loves it here. I think his family loves it here. I think he loves coming into the office. I'll go out to practice. I didn't get out to practice as much as I wanted to this year, but he just has a smile. You can tell he loves it, and he's a ball coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's what he is, a ball coach.
So we've discussed the landscape, Terry, and all this, the Big 12 and your mark with the Redbird Capital and all of that that's helping infuse some money into the conference. But it seems like to me, including you, everybody has opted out of taking any kind of money or revenue from them. Is that a sign it is not the time? What does that actually mean in your opinion and from your perspective?
Well, first of all, I'm very supportive of the what Brett has done. We looked at it ourselves a couple of years ago. I went to New York. We met with them 2 or 3 times, Weatherford and Redbird. And I think it's just for us, I think we were the first ones to come out to say that we were not taking the capital. And I think it was just a decision our institution, we make and really didn't have to. This wasn't a real big decision. I mean, just me and my president talked about it. And obviously there's a lot of layers to it as well. But I really do support our venture that we have with Redbird. I think they're an excellent company. They bring a really strong portfolio of partners with them. They have a lot of great limited partners as just investors on their own. And, I believe it's the right thing at the right time. I do think the investment they're making and the investment we're making into them is a really good partnership. I think Brett Yormark's as good as any commissioner in the country when it comes to commercial business. And I think him partnering with them, I think that we have a real strong opportunity to enhance our revenues. And we're already seeing it, and we have seen it. And I think we're in the right direction. And, it's up to each institution if they want to take it or not. I mean, I think it's great that they offered it. I think most schools are probably just thinking, hey, listen, we're going to sit back and watch and see what happens over the next couple of years. But, we're not going to do it. But that's no reflection on the partnership at all. That's just an individual institution decision. And we're very happy to have them as partners and excited to work with them.
Everyone has said no as far as we know. We know Utah had their own separate deal, but does that mean this is more for the conference the next time there's any kind of TV deals, that they're setting that up for value rather than for each individual school?
I think Brett is constantly thinking about commercial value of our own conference as a whole, of all 16 programs, universities. I really love the makeup and the geography of our institutions. We travel over 4 time zones. So, the networks can choose marquee games in different time zones. We have huge institutions. I mean, Arizona State and us are the top 3 biggest institutions in the country. We have great private schools. We have traditional, institutions that are AAU. So, I mean, we've got great makeup, and I think he's just trying to exploit and explore new opportunities, and he has, and we've seen it. I mean, just with some of our new partners that have come on board, and he'll continue to drive new opportunities for us. And I think this, going back to the Redbird, I think Redbird will be a tremendous asset for us as well.
So, Terry, there's all sorts of expansion. The NCAA tournament has expanded to 76. College football is trying to figure out, are they going to go from 12? They will. Most likely it's going to be 16 or 24. is all of this, and you've been on some of these committees before, you've been a part of all this, is expansion for money, or is it also good for the sport?
I think it's a little bit of both. I do think there's some opportunities for additional revenue, and everybody's kind of looking for that. I do think that our leaders and the commissioners are really looking for more access. And I think the institutions are looking for more access. I particularly, this is my opinion, not the Big 12s, UCF. I represent UCF. I like 12. I would be fine with 16. I think I'd have to study 24 a little bit more. I know the reasons why they want to go 24, but I do think having sat in that committee room, start looking at 16, 17 to 24, the teams, that will be a little, I think, of a challenge. Not to say they can't get there. It looks like there's a lot of support for it as well. But I also think the one thing really special about college football, really, really special, having played, having coached, and now been an AD, is that every week matters. And I think the more access you give, and will every week matter? Can you get? Is there a chance that a Big Ten team that's 7-5 gets into the playoffs? Is that a possibility? I think that's where I need to study, or an SEC. Does it give equal access? Are there AQs involved in the 24 model? I mean, are there certain conferences that will demand AQs? Those are all the things that I need to learn more about as we go forward. But I do love college football. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for college football. So I owe a lot of my career because of college football. And so I'm a guardian of the game. I really believe that. I also want to promote it, but I also do think there's I think we can do both. I also think that, week in, week out, that's the one really great thing about college football. Every week matters. And that's why I think you see the ratings are so high, because they know it does matter. And what we don't want is where, you can be a 500 team going into the last 4 weeks and still have a chance to go to the playoff. In my mind, I don't know. I'm sure other people would disagree with me, but I would debate them on that. And so those are just some of my thoughts.
Well, Terry, I want to get into a lot of what you have done as far as the revenue and the university and the athletics budget and revenue, the Roth Tower and all that. One more question about the college football playoff. You have the Big Ten and the SEC that have separated with the revenue, and they also have been both very successful. The Big 12's had their wins and losses, or wins and championships too. Do you get the feeling, though, that if there's inner room, and you have these conferences, the Power Four conferences and Notre Dame, that the Big Ten and SEC have this is how much we want and you get whatever's left? Is that a mentality that bothers the Big 12 or the ACC, in your opinion, or you at UCF?
I mean, I hear that sometimes that's the temperature among some of my P4 colleagues. I don't know what's really being said because I'm not in the room, so I don't want to comment on that. I will say, and that's not easy for me to do because I usually comment on everything. I would say that that's some of the things I was talking about as far as expansion. Who has the right to expand? What happens when you expand? Who makes that call? Are there weighted votes? Right now, I think there is weighted votes of the CFP, which is, to me, I don't really agree with. And I think cyclical, when I was growing up in the Big 8 country, the Big 8 was the most dominant conference in the country. That was the 80s and part in the 90s. And then the SEC kind of for 10 years, the SEC kind of with Nick Saban then was there. Now he's gone. Now the Big 10 seems to be doing very well. So know what's going to happen the next 20 years and who's going to be the next conference that steps up as that conference to be with when it comes to national champions. But I do think that we have a lot of conference commissioners that have not grown up on campuses like we have and look at things differently. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I think they just look at things differently. And I think there's some value to that. And I think there's some, I think there's some tradition that we need to preserve as well.
Your board approved a bunch of money, revenue, but also to help find other revenue. That's a huge deal. The Roth Tower. Adam sent me a couple of links on the Roth Tower. And what is it? Suites Tower, press box, nearly tripling in size this fall. How much fun is to see all that growth right now?
It's outside my window right here. It's been fantastic. This is I've been very fortunate in college athletics to be able to do what I've been able to do. I've coached in bowl games, but also built a stadium from scratch with towers. This is my third tower project. And this was an opportunity, a very strategic opportunity. We went to the county, the tourism development tax, which is basically hotel tax that comes into Orange County. And we applied for a grant and we received $90 million from the county commissioners. And we were able to build this tower for the exact amount. Give you an example on scale. The old club was about 4,000 square feet. This new one's 15,000 square feet. So, I mean, more than doubled in size, almost tripled in size.
Well, Terry, I want to get into a lot of what you have done as far as the revenue and the university and the athletics budget and revenue, the Roth Tower and all that. One more question about the college football playoff. You have the Big Ten and the SEC that have separated with the revenue, and they also have been both very successful. The Big 12's had their wins and losses, or wins and championships too. Do you get the feeling, though, that if there's inner room and you have these conferences, the Power Four conferences and Notre Dame, that the Big Ten and SEC have this is how much we want and you get whatever's left? Is that a mentality that bothers the Big 12 or the ACC, in your opinion, or you at UCF?
I mean, I hear that sometimes that's the temperature among some of my P4 colleagues. I don't know what's really being said because I'm not in the room, so I don't want to comment on that. I will say, and that's not easy for me to do because I usually comment on everything. I would say that that's some of the things I was talking about as far as expansion. Who has the right to expand? What happens when you expand? Who makes that call? Are there weighted votes? Right now, I think there is weighted votes of the CFP, which is, to me, I don't really agree with. I think cyclical, when I was growing up in the Big 8 country, the Big 8 was the most dominant conference in the country. That was the 80s and part in the 90s. And then the SEC kind of for 10 years, the SEC kind of with Nick Saban then was there. Now he's gone. Now the Big 10 seems to be doing very well. So you don't know what's going to happen the next, 20 years and who's going to be the next conference that steps up as that conference to be with when it comes to national champions. But I do think that we have a lot of conference commissioners that have not grown up on campuses like we have and look at things differently. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I think they just look at things differently. And I think there's some value to that. And I think there's some tradition that we need to preserve as well. Your board approved a bunch of money, revenue, but also to help find other revenue. That's a huge deal. The Roth Tower. Adam sent me a couple of links on the Roth Tower. And what is it? Suites Tower, press box, nearly tripling in size this fall. How much fun is to see all that growth right now? It's outside my window right here. It's been fantastic. This is I've been very fortunate in college athletics to be able to do what I've been able to do. I've coached in bowl games, but also built a stadium from scratch with towers. This is my third tower project. And this was an opportunity, a very strategic opportunity. We went to the county, the tourism development tax, which is basically hotel tax that comes into Orange County. And we applied for a grant and we received $90 million from the county commissioners. And we were able to build this tower for the exact amount. Give you an example on scale. The old club was about 4,000 square feet. This new one's 15,000 square feet. So, I mean, more than doubled in size, almost tripled in size. And so we're really excited about not only do we have It's going to be a great game day experience. Now we have almost 20% of our stadium is premium seats as a result. Kind of the model the pros have gone through, where you're not having a big stadium and you're really having more premium. So we have great premium. We have a great entry level price points for young families, but we also have areas for people that want to experience a different type of product. And we're really excited about that. And, also we have a lot, due east on the 50-yard line is Cape Canaveral. So we can have launch parties up there. So all kinds of things that go on with SpaceX. I mean, it never gets old. I look at outside my window, I can see rocket launch periodically, and it's never gets old. And our 50-yard line is directly parallel to launch pad 39A, and that's where we're launching. So, we'll have people that use their suites. We put a new product in this year called Sky Suites, and basically it's this little club area. We have 4 different sections, club areas that have 12-person basically Sky Suites, but they're 12-person little boxes, but also experience this little own club. They have their own bartender, their own bar, and all that kind of stuff, and their own food. And it's just really a neat. It's basically indigenous to Florida. So we're bringing the resort feel of Florida, plus enjoying college football in a different way. And so we're really, really pleased with the progress.
That's awesome. My youngest brother, Philip, and his wife, Marianne, live on Hutchinson Island, just south of Vero Beach, Fort Pierce. Beautiful condo.
Very nice.
Proud of what they've done. They're on the 17th floor. I bring that up because depending on the launches, they have a panoramic view. It's not like just some rectangle. This is a really nice, high level. And at night or early in the morning, they can see the launches. Now, it's much further south, but that's cool as heck. You're doing that at your stadium.
Well, when Artemis was launched a couple months ago, I mean, you had all of our students on parking garages. They're all outside. It was so cool. And then you drive around Orlando and everybody's watching it. And it was a really cool scene. So.
Two more questions. I know you're going to go. How would you describe the
I'm enjoying myself. Why are you trying to keep me off?
Oh, I thought I had. Adam's going to get on me. How would you describe your fan base, the alumni, the students, and everything else involved with UCF?
I'd say youthful. We have 400,000 living alumni. I think over 90% of our alumni are still living. Don't forget, we're a very young institution. Every school except Houston and Texas Tech started their athletic department in the Big 12 in the 1800s. We started ours in 1963. We're 37 years younger than the next closest athletic department in the Big 12. Only 5 schools in the Power Conference did not start their athletic departments in the 1800s. So, we're young. And so the average age of our living alumni is 40. So I would say we're an emerging fan base. And we're very youthful, very passionate. And I get a lot of advice, as you can imagine. So from a lot of our fans, and it's okay. And because I know they're very passionate, and so it's just, they're just very prideful. We have a lot of first generation college students. I worked at FAU when UCF was emerging. So I lived down in Palm Beach County and watching the school grow. So when this opportunity opened back up, I really wanted to see, because my background is I'm a builder. I'm a foundation builder. I'm not really a caretaker type AD. And so having the opportunity to do a lot of things, or be the first to do a lot of things, is very exciting. And I think that's how our fan base thinks as well. Being the first, being able to, not necessarily, I know there's a lot of people say, well, you got to do more with less. It's not really doing more with less. It's doing more with, no matter what your environment or your circumstances are in your current environment, that you're able to succeed regardless, and keeping that mindset of change is inevitable, and we'll manage through it. And I think that's what we do. And I think that's a very strong representation of our fan base, because a lot of our students, they were not legacy college families. They put themselves through school. They worked in, servers and, landscapers and everything just to put themselves in school. So the value of a college education is very prideful in this community. And, we're excited. I'm excited to represent them in this athletic department. I'm very, very blessed.
Yes.
Playing the back.
Yes.
You gotta be smart, because if you're out of control, you could give up a big touchdown. But if you're in control, but you also have to be extremely aggressive when you make contact. So yeah, I still think about some of those principles today. That's funny you brought that up. But yeah, I feel very blessed. Like I said, if it wasn't for college football, I don't know if I would have gone to college. And I look around and I look on the fields and all of our playing surface for our athletes. And, we look at college athletics or alumni of college athletics today. Think about this. Besides the GI Bill, think about another scholarship program that has impacted the young youth of our America more than college athletics. I'd say GI Bill is probably number one, and then college athletics. Think of hundreds and thousands, millions of athletes that have played college sports that have changed their family circumstances for life because they went to school on a sports scholarship, got a degree, got a job, and changed their circumstances for life. And they broke the cycle. Even though they started way back, because of their scholarship, their sports scholarship, they were able to use that to change their life forever. And we see it all the time. And that's why we're going to keep top of mind education, postgraduate success, top of mind.
Terry, man, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. You gave me a lot more than what we initially thought we would get. It was worth every second of it. Have a great rest of your week. Good luck with that initiative that you have in the next month, and also the construction. We appreciate it. Have a great week. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the Smoke Show.
Here we go. Thank you to Terry Mohajir, Adam Widnam as well. Lengthy, a lot of things on the table, Craig, and I know we have a few more things to get to. Brandon Marcello will join us in about 15 minutes with the story about Redbird Capital.
Anything in particular you wanted to touch on from that?
Well, I think he mentioned Redbird Capital, said that they were the first to pretty much say we're not interested, to say they're not interested, but that he understands why the Big 12 is a part of it, and answered my question when I said, is that almost helping you more set up as a conference for the next media rights, et cetera? And he said, yeah, there's some things that we're going to be working on to have and put ourselves in the better position.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of this just remains to be seen. It's a work in progress, and I think it's very experimental is what it is more than anything. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of people clamoring to follow the Big 12's lead, but if they see the Big 12 having success, then they're all going to line up to follow the Big 12's lead and to cut their own deals. So they're kind of the guinea pig, so to speak. And, yeah, so far people have passed on taking that loan, and it's a double-digit interest rate out, which I don't blame anybody for not going that route. But there's still time. Somebody can change their mind if fortunes change, and we'll see. There's a little bit of a period here where you can come back to the table if you want to and say, you know what, never mind. We're going to take like $10 million out because this, that, or the other. So that's still open and a possibility, and I think we just have to let that play itself out and the rest of this play itself out, because it's unfamiliar waters. And even if you're somebody in the financial game and you're familiar with private equity or private investment or whatever terms want to be used here, this is all new to college sports, but it's seemingly inevitable. I think in reading Brandon's article and hearing him talk to like the head of Redbird Capital, man, I can't help but get the feeling of like just a shark who smells blood in the water, honestly. And saying all the right things as far as trying not to be the boogeyman, and even going on the offensive a little bit and saying, well, I know that like private equity is like this term, this monolithic term that people are nervous about, but no, it's like he he understands that they're being side-eyed a little bit, but I think he also understands all they need to do is get their foot in the door, and then the whole world's probably open to them. So that's where I'm a little bit leery as just an outsider who's not involved.
That's the good news about what Brandon can tell us here in a minute, too.
Well, I mean, he can have his own opinion on it, but that's my opinion based on reading what he said, is that this guy knows that they're not trusted completely and knows that they're kind of the wolf circling the hen house. But he's like, no, I'm not a wolf. I'm a dog. I'm a sweet dog. Like you can have me around the hens. I'm not going to take anything. And we'll see. I mean, we will see, and we'll get into it further with Brandon, but he's very aware of the kind of pushback. And at the same time, I think he sees all of the opportunities. So they're going to put forth their plans with the Big 12. We'll see on these side businesses, that one part of this kind of 3-part deal they've come together on, which is the $30 or $30 million credit line with interest. And then there's the potential things down the road that could be in play as well when you talk about the TV deal and things like that. But this is very much an experiment, and I think that it remains to be seen. I'm not even sure Redbird really knows which direction this is going to go ultimately, but the part I am most curious about is the side businesses and generating money that way. I'm just curious of what they think they're going to create that's going to become something profitable and substantial, where they give them that $12.5 million to the league office and they say, go be creative and come up with ideas, schools, conference, etc. What kind of ideas are out there to go and create and do and follow through on that could turn into substantial businesses that help fund you moving forward? And that's where, you're going to have to be creative. So there's not necessarily an answer for that yet, but that is part of the whole deal, is that the Big 12 schools are going to have to, in so many ways, come up with their own ideas to figure out how they're going to make money. They're just giving them the platform and the tools to be able to launch that, whatever that looks like.
All right. So we'll do that. Brandon will join us here in a minute, but let's get to a few things and kind of touch on it, because we heard about the arbitration case between the College Sports Commission and Nebraska, 18 student athletes, football players, arguing their case for being paid by what is the Playfly folks who handle marketing, et cetera, broadcasts for a lot of different schools around America. But the College Sports Commission actually won the arbitration case. Upon the completion of the arbitration process, the impacted student athletes are now able to resubmit revised third-party NIL deals that comply with the rules of the College Sports Commission. And so Troy Dennon, the AD at Nebraska, said that's what they will do. And the College Sports Commission, the way they worded it was kind of like, well, we want them to do that, but they're not going to do it under the way this was set up.
This is clearly another workaround, this time by Nebraska. And if they had been successful and everybody else would have followed suit, to say that Playfly is like some neutral third party that has nothing to do with anything when they're in direct involvement with the schools is just, that was BS to begin with. I never really understood where their angle was, where they're not some already tied in partner to the schools themselves. So they are, I guess the term is associated entity. They were arguing that they're not. They were arguing that they're a neutral third party. And that's not the case when you're doing all the broadcast and you're doing all these different things. I mean, that's just logical, I think. So I didn't really feel like that argument held much water. You were just kind of hoping it would get pushed through. But I think the right call was made here. And Playfly, which is the multimedia partner of Nebraska, is an associated entity. They are not a neutral third party. You're literally in business with them. So you're not going to be used to put extra payments on the outside and act like this is not part of the agreement.
The deals do not satisfy the valid business purpose that the CSC needs to see, as they did not include goods or services offered to the general public for profit. So they said, we're a neutral third party. And they're saying, no, you're not. You're their multimedia partner. And they said, no, but we're neutral third party. Okay, well, we disagree on that. Well, all right. Anyways, well, how about all these deals for these nearly 20 athletes at Nebraska that we're trying to get past and that you're denying? Well, you can go back to the drawing board and they can resubmit those and renegotiate and redraw up what those are going to look like. But the problem for Nebraska players was, hey, look at these NIL offers we got. What's it for? What's Playfly?
Doing what? Like there was nothing attached. It was like the Big Red Auto Sales in Norman. It's like you had a job, sort of, kind of, but not really, that you maybe didn't even show up for. Like, so yeah, they were just the way at least it's presented without further details is that Nebraska's like, oh yeah, these 18 football players need these play fly deals. What are they going to do to earn them? Their name, image, and likeness. For what? Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing. There was no for what answer.
All right, so this is part of the decision last night. There's some response to it. Also, this is one deal. Decide this from Jeffrey Kessler, remember, who's going to represent other players, including the quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, in a different deal. This is how arbitration system works. Broader issues will be decided by the court, where we just filed our reply brief in support of our motion against defendants and the College Sports Commission for overreaching and in their enforcement and also in violation of the House settlement. So Andy Staples had this part to close it out with this. And Craig, you respond if you have something to add to it, please. Even after a win against Nebraska, the College Sports Commission CEO insisted the Cornhusker players can still get paid. Why? Because he knows if Nebraska's attorney general gets involved, and that's always been out there, then the College Sports Commission has bigger problems than just this one case.
Yeah, so here we are back to square one on why nothing ever matters is because Nebraska didn't get their way. So what do they do about it? Do they say, all right, cool, we set a standard and now people just don't have – like people will just not submit the same way that we did. They will learn their lesson. We will learn our lesson. We'll go back. We'll redraw these up because they were totally legitimate to begin with. Like, why would that be so hard, by the way? Like, if these are all legitimate on the up-and-up offers, it seems to me you could just go, all right, well, tell the secretary to type up the offers and make some corrections or whatever, and you could easily do that and get them passed on the up-and-up if they were, on the up-and-up to begin with, which is the whole thing, is that there's no teeth or meat to why the money's being put in these guys' pockets. Instead of that just being cleared up and Nebraska going about it and resubmitting and that getting passed and they get their money and this and that, instead it's threats of the Attorney General of the state of Nebraska getting involved and now going to war with the NCAA. So that's, hey, you don't have an extra year of eligibility. Well, I'm going to go to court in Norman. You don't have an extra year of eligibility. I'm going to go to court in Oxford. Well, you're not really following the guidelines of the CSC. All right, you told us, you ruled against us. We're going to go to the Attorney General in Nebraska. And that's why everything is the way that it is. The schools are the people they complain about. They are the people they complain about. They don't want to follow the rules. And then when they get told that they're not following the rules and to follow the rules, they go to their lawyer, to their attorney general, to whoever. And the players do the same. I mean, because why wouldn't you if you're a player at this point? And they go that route. And then guess what? The Nebraska Attorney General will probably rule in their favor. And then you've got, like, again, different rules for everybody and different rules applied when you want them applied, when the other side's doing it. But when you're doing it, you're going to go to your local politician and get your way. And that's why at the root of all this, there's all these stories that keep being talked about, because that's what these schools are doing. So this is also why I never sit there and feel sorry for any of them, because they're their own worst. They're battling themselves in so many ways. The
They're
NCAA
trying to
is
cheat
them.
the system that they the ones who made the rules.
And then complain about how the system doesn't reinforce anything. It's because every time it does, you sue over it. So, and then you have local yokel politicians or bigwig politicians who are trying to make a statement to their voters, and they're going to do what the people like. You think the Attorney General is going to go against Nebraska fan?
Not if he wants to continue working. Yep.
So, like, that's why this is also like so goofy.
All the other eligibility cases, except one or two, or the NCAA has won a handful of them. So there we are with that. And here is Brian Seeley, and then we break and come back with Brandon Marcello. Here is Brian Seeley after the arbitration hearing, saying that Nebraska's players, which cost the CSC like $750,000 in legal fees. I heard that was one of the highest NIL payments that was out there, between $50,000 and $750,000. Cost them nearly $1 million, and that's fine. They're fighting for what they believe in. Here's Brian Seeley.
What this system can do and transform into, and how do you feel just personally after going through all this? Yeah, it's not about me, right? It's about a system. And I want to thank all the people from my team who worked hard on review of these deals and in the arbitration itself. There are growing pains with any system. There have been a lot of growing pains in this system. But we came from a system where there was no enforcement of the rules for a couple years. And so there are going to be growing pains to get to a system with real rules enforcement. It is certainly, it feels validating to have an arbitrator agree with your decision. On the other hand, I was going to speak to the media and we were going to make this decision public, even if we lost. We made that commitment already. So I am very happy that the arbitrator agreed with the decision. I think it will hopefully instill some faith in this system, but we still have a lot of work to do to get to where the schools want enforcement to be.
Is the next step just defending it? I'm assuming the Nebraska AG is going to come back with something pretty quickly here, so are you ready to defend that there?
As I said at the beginning, this arbitration was not about whether these student athletes can get paid. It was about whether they can get paid in this specific way. I believe there are deals in the pipeline for these student athletes with actual sponsors attached to them that we can approve. I believe that will happen. I don't believe litigation is necessary for these student athletes to get money for their NIL. I cannot control what happens, though, outside of what we do.
So that's Brian Seeley from the College Sports Commission. By the way, Brandon Marcello, because of the story he has on many things, is now having to write an article urgently, so he will not join us in the next segment. That gives us a chance to breathe a little bit. Here's from Troy Dan in Nebraska. I am proud of our football student athletes and how they represented themselves during this process and the patience they've shown. We continue to have and operate within the parameters of the House settlement and the CSC process while monitoring changes in collegiate athletics in the landscape. We fully support all of our student athletes maximizing the value of their name, image, and likeness during their time at the University of Nebraska.
I mean, that's a whole lot of just word salad that, I don't expect him to say too much more than that, other than, like we understand, we support our players, and we're going to back them and their value and all that. The problem is again, this case seems really simple to me. What are they getting paid for? Why can't you just say they're doing the local Ford dealership commercial?
Or they're going to do a fundraiser at the car wash, and we're going to pay them for how long they're there. Something,
right, yeah. Right. So, I would be more open-minded about it if there were some examples of that. The fact that, I'm sure if I went on bigredmessageboard.com or something, that it would have probably a lot more details and no, this guy had a Ford sponsor or something like that. And maybe that would make more sense, but I haven't seen any of that in the amount of reporting that I've read on this case. And so it seems really simple to me that you could just say, here's what these athletes will do, and this is what they can get paid, because the argument's not even the value of the money. I don't believe, at least. I think that's a separate thing of well, if you did a Ford commercial, do you deserve to get paid $250? I think that's a separate thing. This is just okay, you're wanting to be paid, but for what? And you can't answer that question. So, yeah, I think Nebraska could have gone a couple of different routes other than just I don't know. And so maybe I'm missing details, and if I am, then that's fine.
Here's what you're missing. It's a football win-loss decision. Nebraska got the L.
So that's kind of what's been the course for them here lately, more often than not, unfortunately.
I had a feeling about that too. I was, oh shit, they're going to end up, they're going to be the ones that lose to the NCAA, or in this case, the CSC.
Yeah, but Jeffrey Kessler,
here's the note.
It all started with John Ruiz, Mr. Life Wallet, when he wanted to be the big face of NIL and just say, screw the rules right out of the gates. And I remember saying 5 years ago, whenever that was, I don't want to know who John Ruiz is. Unless I just pass an article about how successful Life Wallet was years ago, then okay, I'll read about the CEO of this company and his story or whatever. Okay, that's fine. But I don't want him to be a major face in college athletics, nor people like him. And now we know Jeffrey Kessler for various reasons outside of college football, but now he's directly in the middle of everything. And due respect, Brian Seeley's actually trying to do a good thing, I think, ultimately. But we know Cody Campbell now, and we know like the cookies guy in Provo, and we know like it's just brought this whole cast of characters that I really didn't want to know existed, other than like to hear occasionally about their donation that's going to help build the indoor, right? And now they're like central figures in some of the biggest storylines. So I know some of that was already part of the deal, but I think especially on the legal side, it's just ramped up so much to where there's all these new people to account for and what their agendas are, who they're fighting for. So, yeah, I know we're going to hear way more about Jeffrey Kessler. Fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah.
But in Brian Seeley's case, I think, to his point, I think they're trying to, like he said, do the best they can. They're not trying to prevent people from getting paid. They're just saying explain the money. And I think there's people out there that want to go, well, why should they have to explain? It's like, because that's where the rules come into play.
Yeah, otherwise you just,
otherwise,
okay, they can get 750,000, 700, whatever. How and what are they doing to earn it? That's it.
Well, why should they have to? Well, because then it's just pay for play.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, like, so I think everybody out there understands that. It's just frustrating because it's the same song and dance of we want this until we don't, and then we're going to fight against it, and we're going to bring our lawyers and our state politicians into it to get our way ultimately. Now, maybe Nebraska doesn't go that course. Maybe their attorney general stays out of it. Maybe they just, like I said, they take this ruling and they set an example and they go and they change the wording or the description of this whole offer, and those guys go back to the table and they get their deals approved. How about we do that? That seems like a much more simplistic way to operate and more on the up and up, and by the honor system or whatever is in place that you would like to kind of be around, and yeah, people abiding as best they can by the rules. That would all be well, lovely, and good, and probably great for the sport. But again, there's just too many self-interest, like there is in politics or in everyday life, that prevent this from just being a smoother operating machine.
Ross Dellinger with a note on a podcast that he's doing. However, there's a catch with this Nebraska CSC ruling. Brian Seeley explained that said it. The audio was a little bit wobbly, but it was okay. I could hear it if I could hear it. Explain these athletes can still get their NIL deals approved by submitting their deals in a different way. And Andy Staples also discusses, again, the impact. Tell us how you're making the money. It doesn't matter. Then the argument could be, well, how do you know doing a 5-hour car wash fundraiser is not worth $250,000? Then it's different, but you got to at least have the car wash and the fundraiser, or pitching a Ram truck or something like that, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's all pretty clear and uncomplicated. So I don't know why that's difficult to do. So I think the logical thing, if everybody really wants what they say they want, would be Nebraska goes, reworks those deals, explains themselves a little bit further on what those deals entail, go get them passed. Those guys get their money. They get to play football, have this sponsorship. Nebraska gets their players getting paid, and everybody's happy. Like, why is that like the route? Like, think about that for a second.
Why? You know why? Because someone actually slapped their hand.
I know, but it's just so silly when you think about like how simple it really could be.
And it will be
on the up and
that's
up.
going to be even worse. It will be, and both sides paid a bunch of money for something that could have been so simple had they done that from the beginning.
Right. So instead we're talking about, well, will the attorney general get involved when all they have to do is just go rework it? So yeah, I'm interested to see what Nebraska's next move is. This is already more complicated than it ever should have been. And this is why every day there's a discussion about all of the complications around the game.
All right. So there we are with that story. Well, I'm glad it's over. I don't even know if they do go back and try to get the money. I'm not sure how much of it really you care about, but we try to cover whatever we possibly can.
I mean, yeah, I think there is an interest in the legal side to some extent. I also think there comes exhaustion with that. And I think in this case, it's of note because if Nebraska had gotten their way, well, then that opens up massive amounts of doors for all of these other entities to say, well, we're an independent entity. We're not in bed with the schools. It's like, but you're their broadcast partner. How are you not? No, we've been deemed by the courts. We're independent, so we can cut separate side deals. Like, that's a big deal if that's the case. The fact that they can't do that and they've just been told they can't do that is notable. So, like, I understand, and I was this way a couple of years ago, the glazing over of the eyes and some of the legal stuff and the political stuff, but it is leading somewhere ultimately. even though some stories end up being a dead end, like this is going to lead to either Nebraska's going to comply or they're going to fight it. And that in itself will be a story, because then that will determine whether or not, you can have these third-party deals through your broadcast partner. So that's why it's notable, even though it's not as exciting as the result of a game, certainly. And God, we can't get there fast enough, in my opinion, but it is notable and at least worth touching on a little bit. But this should be pretty simple on Nebraska's part. We'll see what they decide to do.
From Wolf, Doggo, college football players are going to unionize. Power to the players. They work extremely hard for their pay, but are they? Are they all in the same boat? Are they going to? We don't know that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the conversation you get into when you hear we need collective bargaining, and then you look at some of the players and they're like, we don't want collective bargaining. Like, we're getting $15 million, and I don't need to be involved with like the third string safety for Minnesota. Like, what do I give a damn about that guy? Like, and not even maybe necessarily that ugly is the way I put that. But just in general, like, why does Jeremiah Smith care about everybody else? Maybe he does. Maybe he's just a good dude and he wants to fight that fight. But I think there would be a lot of other athletes and agents in their ears telling them of like, you've got it good right now because it's so unregulated that you can really feast on this system. You do collective bargaining, well, then that's a bit more structured and organized, and this free market, basically, I guess is what you would describe it as. I don't know. I'm getting too out of my depth here, but this Wild West is actually great for the athlete. The system where they're all now under the same set of rules across the board is a lot less independent and free. And so that's why I think it makes sense to want that. But I don't know if, like you said, if all the athletes would actually want that. And I bet the agents would definitely not want that.
All right. When we come back, Craig Smoak, and we'll get to Off the Radar with some other stories from the playoffs elsewhere. To that story and more, we do appreciate our good friend Rez Flores, Michelangelo, for helping do what he does every day. Also, Garrett Ross, Andrew Valade, and no Logan today, but he's always on our mind, and he'll be back at some point before the end of the week. A lot more to get to. We will have an hour maybe with Tim Brando tomorrow on so much and even more that's happened since he went off on the college football expansion. He likes the idea of going to 24. That and more, David Smoak and Craig Smoak, and this is the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America. 5 of the locations here in Waco and 1 near you. Maybe multiple stores and Marco's Pizzas near you. Love their Magnifico, the pepperoni or Italian sausage, or the combination of pepperoni and Italian sausage Magnifico. It loaded up. You don't see anything but pepperoni on top, and then you see nothing but Italian sausage on pretty much every piece of pepperoni. It is fantastic. I'm always a thin crust. I don't know when that changed for me, but I used to just have whatever, the pizza, the size, the thickness, whatever. I really like the thin crust. I like it crispy like that if available, and that's up to you to order it that way. They have the kind of a lasagna type meal, sandwiches, wings, salads, and more. Marco's Pizza, Bob Mock, the owner of the 5 locations. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. And America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels in Waco.
It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
Welcome into 365 Sports here and Off the Radar. Appreciate you being a part of the show whenever and however. And let's get into a few stories off the radar, although a college football note to start off with. I'll include college football when I feel like it merits it, but it's kind of the time, hence the name, to talk about a few other things. But this update, I don't know where else we'll talk about it, and it's just coming out here within the last hour, and that's an update on the status of Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy. He has been released from the hospital, according to Pete Thamel, after being shot in his upper leg early Sunday morning. According to this ESPN News article, Hardy plans to head to Missouri's campus immediately to begin rehabbing with the goal of playing this year. He was shot at a concert in Mississippi and had surgery there in Hattiesburg after the incident. At least 2 people injured, 3 people of interest in custody. And there was a rap concert that was going on. It had a large crowd and gunshots rang out. So not the first time we've heard of an incident at a concert or at a big gathering. Good news is we've heard much worse endings to this story. And so Ahmad Hardy not only out of the hospital after being shot over the weekend, but already planning on how quickly he can get back to Columbia to start working out and rehabbing. So that seems to bode well. First things first, glad for the human being, Ahmad Hardy.
Yep.
And second of all, if as a Mizzou football fan, then I think you're pretty excited about the fact that he's also not likely to miss any significant time. So best of news updates that you could possibly get from the personal and professional angle as well. So that's good to see that. Meanwhile, we are still 2 days away from the NFL schedule release. Would you believe that if you didn't know that?
No, because I think I know all the games.
It feels like every game has been leaked out like a drippy faucet by Adam Schefter or various other insiders. Just this slow leak of games. Like the NFL really loves the smell of its own farts, doesn't it? I mean, it really does.
I can't believe you said that because there was a quote about UT and Steve Sarkisian about farts, and I didn't use it. I won't use it, but yeah, they do.
But
theirs don't stink.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was from an Aggie fan or whatever, but no, I just feel like the NFL and maybe it's more the reporters around it, but the fact that we're going to have nearly a week countdown leading up to the schedule announcement. Like you would think it's the freaking Super Bowl. And you know what? Millions of people will watch this scheduling show.
Absolutely.
Even though they already been told.
Don't understand it.
Even been told 3/4 of the games. I mean, I understand it from the standpoint of if your college football team did that, if they did the Ohio State schedule show and you had very little to no idea of who you were playing, or you had some idea because you're playing your divisional opponents
It would
twice.
be 3 games. If you did it in college, it would be the non-conference games are the only.
But you already
one.
know those.
Yeah,
So
I
mean, really, there's not anything to debut other than the days and the week and all that. But you even kind of know in the NFL, we played the AFC West for a couple of years now. So you kind of have an idea already, but just slowly but surely they've been releasing these various games and what's official and what's not. And so we're starting to see that first week get filled out. And here we are so far as of earlier today, NFL week 1, and we're still 2 days away. So and I haven't even gone into the depths of the beat reporters, for the Dolphins or the Texans and what little leaks they're giving out. It's week 14, they're playing the Seahawks at noon. I don't even know what else is out there.
The franchises will give a nugget or two to some of their beat writers. You take this game.
It's great for the content game, I guess, to just drag out what is just a schedule announcement ultimately, but to drag it out over an entire week because this has gone back to last week and we've still got 2 days left. But here's what we know so far that's notable. NFL schedule week number 1, 49ers and Rams in Melbourne, Australia. So that is a Thursday game on September the 10th. That'll be a nighttime kickoff still for U.S. audiences, but yeah, it's a midweek game, and I guess is it technically on Wednesday here? I swear I thought it was Wednesday that I heard, but this says Thursday. So
no, there's a Wednesday game,
a different Wednesday,
and I don't know if it's around Thanksgiving or something else similar to that.
Okay, no, this says 2026 NFL season will kick off Wednesday, September 9th, with the Seahawks hosting a game at home on NBC and Peacock. So we just haven't had that yet. The part of the wait is to see who they're going to play. So so there will be the Wednesday game and then the Seahawks versus whoever. And then there will be the Thursday game, the Rams and the 49ers in Australia. So that's part of the kickoffs. Also, first Monday Night Football game, Broncos and Chiefs, as Patrick Mahomes comes back to be Patrick Mahomes and healthy and lead them back to the promised land. It's been so long for the Chiefs to be back on top. Not really, but it probably feels that way for them. So Broncos, Chiefs, first Monday Night Football game. But the night prior, we knew this, Cowboys, Giants, the first Sunday Night Football. So you'll go Seahawks versus whoever on a Wednesday, 49ers, Rams, Australia on a Thursday, Cowboys, Giants on Sunday, Broncos, Chiefs on Monday. First Thursday, or the week 2 Thursday night game, I should say, Lions and Bills. And I believe that's the Bills' new stadium. They're going to get the chance to show that off. Week 3, Rio de Janeiro, Ravens and Cowboys. Week 9, Bengals and Falcons in Madrid. And Week 12, Eagles and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So we already knew, too, about the Cowboys-Giants. But I like the Eagles-Cowboys Thanksgiving. Like the Giants opening game is so just boring at this point, but Eagles on Thanksgiving versus the Cowboys, that'll be a monster of a rating right there.
Be a monster game, Cowboys and Giants, because of New York and all that.
I'm talking about the Eagles and Cowboys.
No. I'm talking about, but it is boring as hell.
It's boring as hell.
The Cowboys are 11-1 in opening weekend games, prime time, most of them against the Giants. The Giants have got to go, shit, like, golly, we're 0-1, and the Cowboys are 1-0.
I think with John Harbaugh at the helm, the Giants will be more interesting, but for the last several years, I've found them to be just one of the most uninteresting teams in general across the board. Like, it's spiced up a little bit with Scatterbo and Jackson Dart, but I mean, I just was not like over the moon about the Giants in general. So maybe with Harbaugh there, that'll make things more interesting. But there you go. Those are the 7 or so games starting off the year, the international games, Australia, Brazil, Spain, and then one of the Thanksgiving games there with Eagles and Cowboys. That's what's been announced so far. So do you get into this? Do you care?
I got to tell you, Washington 2 years ago obviously was much better. And then, of course, you get your hopes up and Daniels goes down with an injury. I care only because I want to see it as it filters through the media system or atmosphere leading up to it. But after that, I'm not going to go in there and like, okay, I used to do that. Look at the now 17 games. Well, they got to win here and there because everything's so different in the NFL with parity, et cetera. So it's not like it's going to be, I'm not going to watch it. I'll just watch as they filter out occasionally the bigger games.
Yeah. And to be very clear, I'm not like anti the leaks necessarily. I just find it kind of humorous, like how like a week buildup just to announce the games that are being played just goes to show you like how popular this sport is, that they can drag this out with just daily crumbs of there's the Rio game and then, oh my God, and here's the first Sunday game, and they just slow drip it and people gobble it up. It's just a power.
It is.
It's a testament to the power and popularity of the NFL.
It is a viewership. And also with that money-making machine.
Yeah, I mean, the money machine never stops, although it does start to slow to the point where now that's why we have extra weeks of games and extra international games and Wednesday games and Netflix games and so on and so forth. So I do think there is an interesting part of this, and I would much rather watch this than like the week 2 college football playoff committee show. Like, this is still way better TV than that. And I'm not even against it. Like I said, I just find it kind of funny just how big this entity is that they're able to just pull off a scheduling announcement like this. But there are some questions about obviously the big primetime games. People get wrapped up in how many Monday night games are the Cowboys playing? How many are we on Sunday Night Football this year? Where's our Thursday game? Where do we play after the Thursday game? So all that's logical and makes sense and is fun. But yeah, it's another sign of just everything's bigger in the NFL, seemingly. So there you go with that. That's still 2 days away, but I'm sure we'll have a few more games leak out, the big ones, especially those primetime and international games. All right, elsewhere, playoffs continuing on around the NBA and NHL. Last night, the Lakers swept by OKC. Their season is over. Oklahoma City wins 4-0, and they move on after the 115-110 win in LA. So on to the next round for the defending champions and on to the Western Finals. Meanwhile, over in the Eastern semifinals, Detroit and Cleveland now all tied up at 2 apiece as the Cavaliers won at home against the Pistons 112-103. So those are 2 of the results, and this has now led to the Lakers losing LeBron watch. Retirement watch. Yeah. And you know what I'd rather watch? I'd rather watch every schedule leak from the NFL than watch LeBron retirement watch. For one, I don't believe he's retiring yet. I don't believe he is. And I have nothing to base that on other than my own assumptions. But number 2, I just simply don't care at this point. Is that wrong? I don't know a time since I was like 10 years old where this guy's not in the NBA. And I understand he's going to be around regardless. I'm not even an anti-LeBron guy. Like my only beef with him, other than I just think he's kind of goofy, is really like the shots at Dirk back in the day. Like that bothers me more than anything else. And I'm over that. Like Dirk, they beat the Heat. All that got settled on the court, but like that was 20 something years ago. So I have nothing against him. I am though really interested in an NBA without him involved, because think about it. We haven't seen it in 2 decades. This guy just not be a player in this league. Now, he's got armies and armies of worth of fans, and he's one of, if not the greatest of all time, depending on who you ask. So there is that element of when it's over, like that's the end of an era, and that's the sign to me of like I'm an old-ass man now once LeBron retires, because we're basically the same age. But at this point, like there's a lot of really good, young, talented players, but point being, just get ready for, if you're one of the people that watch the talk shows, you probably like the conversations, because why else are you watching them? But LeBron retirement watch will maybe be a whole thing here coming up over the next few weeks and months as he weighs what he wants to do.
His retirement watch, he knows it's there. He knows it's been there before. It's kind of like when he was going to make a decision when he was leaving Cleveland. It was so silly.
Dramatic.
Yeah, too much for me. I really was happy when he won his first NBA title, and then I just kind of got bored with a lot of it. It's almost like, is Tiger going to come back and play golf again for how many years in a row? It got to the point where, for me, I kind of knew when it was over, like it is now, but I let it hook me in, and it shouldn't have, because
but to be fair, he came back and won the Masters.
Yeah, in 19. That's 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah,
it's still there. But yeah. It's like Aaron Rodgers and how boring that can be.
Yeah, but LeBron actually deserves it a bit more.
Well, no. Yeah, he's got a lot. He's played more games and more years and scored more points than anyone in the history of the game. Won titles, yeah.
I think he and Aaron, like, to be as high level as they are, you have to have an ego. And clearly, like, nobody can argue that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have an ego or LeBron James doesn't
he knows
have an
what
ego.
He's doing.
Like, yeah, they absolutely know what they're doing. They're playing through the media, getting their message across and getting the attention they want and all that. But yeah, it's like the Rodgers, the herky jerk on the McAfee show. Will he, won't he? And at the point where I don't give a damn anymore. So just prepare yourselves, is all I'm saying, is there's going to be a lot of will he, won't he conversation. But then again, that's probably also been like the last 2 or 3 years anyways. So
so they got beat, they got swept, and they would, because Oklahoma City's fantastic, the defending champions. And I'm sitting there at the gym today just kind of walking from one. And guess what was on the screen the whole
LeBron,
morning?
Is he going to retire? Yeah. Now, probably. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you know what? He's one of the greatest.
It'll be there tomorrow.
It'll be there tomorrow. It'll be
there 2 weeks from now. Yeah.
Well, until he says something one way or the other. So just get used to that. If you're at the barbershop watching ESPN, that's going to take up a whole lot of content for the coming weeks. That's for sure. Meanwhile, tonight there is a game, San Antonio and Minnesota in San Antonio in the Alamo City. Series is tied at 2 games apiece. That's 7:00 on NBC and Peacock, and we'll see how Victor Wembanyama reacts to the ejection the other night, and if he's able to behave himself, keep his elbows to himself. But that's coming up later on. Spurs and T-Wolves, pretty competitive series. Then last night, NHL, Colorado went up 3-1 on Minnesota with a 5-2 victory at the Wild, and so tonight, we got a couple of games. Buffalo is at Montreal. The Canadiens leading that series 2-1. That's 6:00 on ESPN. And then also out of the West, Anaheim at Vegas. That series tied at 2 apiece, 8:30 on ESPN. So a East-West second-round doubleheader coming your way on the ESPN main channel tonight. Sabres, Canadiens. Ducks and Knights, Golden Knights, I should say, coming your way. And I've really thoroughly enjoyed the NHL playoffs. I've watched a good bit of the NBA as well, but I watched way more NHL at this point. Like, just even as background, I just kind of find it fun. So yeah, there you go with that. And then do I want to add one more thing here, or is that good enough? Do you care about Gino and Don Staley kissing and making out?
That's another thing I got tired of, and I like,
because that was the only other thing I had
like
down.
Randomly 5 to 8 days ago, there's a story. Gino feels bad about what,
and he should.
We should.
Fair,
so we have to write a story about it. It got plenty of coverage. He was wrong. He could have handled it better. They apologized. They kissed and made up, or whatever they did. It's over. Move on. It doesn't need any more coverage.
If I'm him, well, it does in this case because there's a reason to bring it up again. It's not just rehashing what happened. Yeah, he's officially apologized. Bygones be bygones. And now I almost wonder if they didn't like pro wrestling this thing, because now there's more interest in this game that's just been announced between the two programs.
Oh, great.
As the Huskies and Gamecocks will be part of a doubleheader next November. First meeting between the two since the Final Four and the whole dust-up between Ariema and Staley. That was announced today, and it'll be a part of the 13th Annual Basketball Hall of Fame Women's Showcase, which will take place at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. The other game will be the defending national champs, or reigning national champs, UCLA, facing St. John's. So there you go.
St. John's. Huh?
Yeah. So the Hall of Fame Women's Showcase, Mohegan Sun, UCLA, St. John's, UConn, South Carolina.
What's the St. John's deal? If it was the men, it'd be Pitino.
I don't know.
Let me.
That's a good question. I kind of wondered the same. I kind of double took that and said, is this men's basketball?
They were 12, 22, and 12. Maybe there's a connection with the coach, of course, what's her name at UCLA? I don't know. Where's it at? In Vegas?
It's in Connecticut.
Oh, okay. Then there you go. Then you have a team, a local team, along with UConn and St. John's.
Sometimes it's the simplest thing, but maybe there's another connection that makes sense, and we're just not up on game enough to know every little in and out. But that is a game now, UConn and South Carolina, that you won't have to probably push too hard to sell tickets for the fans of that sport and of those programs, because of the way it ended. Even though they patched things up, like, that'll be a hell of a game.
I'm surprised they didn't have either Texas or UConn, or LSU, someone like that also in the mix. But okay, that's good.
Yep. So there you go. There's a few things off the radar, and let's dive on into the final part of the show here.
So we're about to get to John McClain. We'll break right here. Rez, you've done an amazing job weaving in and out of what we had, what we didn't have, what we thought we had, and then we didn't have. But I hope for those of you who missed the interview with Terry Mohajir, you get to go back and listen to it, and the UCF fans enjoy that too. John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, he's next, and this is 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. My dentist is Dr. Steve Childress. Back during the year of COVID, man, so many things changed. We launched this podcast back then. I remember, I needed to go by and get someone to look at my back lower part. I always have this one part of the gum that gets a little bit pissed off, usually because I did something stupid. And so I said, hey, it's not hurting to where it like that, like it's done before, but there's something going on. Would you look at it? And I went in, set up the appointment. He was there, and then he goes, okay, that's fine. He cleaned out a couple, nothing bad, no shots, no nothing. But then he said, but David, we got to talk about the game plan. Just like if you get ready for any kind of sporting event or getting ready for this show or whatever you do at work, a to-do list. This, and this. And I've done most of them. And I have an appointment coming up in July, and I'll get something else done. So if you have waited too long, which is what most people do when they have dental issues, because they're scared that they're going to get in that chair and there's going to be needles and injections. You know what? So what? It hurts for a second. What dentists can do now, it's like Dr. Childress, they grab my gum, wiggles it, bam, I've got a couple of injections. My mouth is numb. He does that. He's really good at what he does. Emergency type work, or just the every time you need to go back and get a checkup, he'll do that for you. And a great staff along with him. Not the only dentist, it's others as well. From the time you walk through the door till the time you leave, and feel better and clear-minded, peaceful-minded at Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Join the celebration. It's 27 years for Richard Car Motors, and we're celebrating with big anniversary savings. The GMC Sierra delivers strength, power, and a refined interior loaded with premium comfort and technology. During Richard Car's 27th anniversary sale, find savings like $9,000 off all Sierra 1500 Pro and SLE models in stock. Thank you, Central Texas, for 27 years. Log on, call, or come by today to find big anniversary savings now.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
All right, here we go with the Hall of Famer himself and John McClain most every Tuesday, right near the top of the 5 o'clock hour. And he joins both Craig Smoke, David Smoke, and 365 Sports. John, we were discussing this. The NFL schedule's being released, and it seemed like every game has been leaked already, and then they'll go out and release it. Do they release it to like John McClain because you're John McClain or Adam Schefter or whoever? How does that work?
Well, I know for John McClain, just like everybody else, you can the teams have the schedules, and if they want to give it to you ahead of time to write a story, so when it comes out, you can post it immediately. Mm-hmm. They can do that, but the ones that get out now are what the NFL wants out. It is amazing to me. We've known what teams are playing other teams. And yet it's such a big deal. The NFL is just masters of promotion. It's almost like if they go to the bathroom, they'll market it. And there will be a big segment that wants to know when they went to the bathroom, what did they do? And how long were they in there? Because it is the NFL.
John, I was just saying this in our last segment. I was just going over some of the games that have been announced, some of these primetime games and international games. And you're right, it's master marketing. But the fact that they're turning a schedule release into like over a week's worth of content. I mean, they started doing these leaks like last week. We still got 2 more days to the damn show airs. It's insane how how marketable just simply releasing these games are.
They leak them, they release them, and the people, talk shows, social media, newspapers, everybody jumps all over it because people can't get enough of the National Football League. It's weird. The NBA playoffs are going. Those are great playoffs. NHL, great playoffs. We got a big controversy in the SEC with Steve Sarkisian and Ole Miss, and yet people are mainly talking about the release of a schedule in which you've known the teams they're playing going back to the end of regular season.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, any thoughts on Sark? I mean, Ole Miss has taken some shots. Dabo came at them. Will Muschamp made the education comment a couple months ago, so clearly he and Sark have been in the office having the same thoughts, go back and forth. But any thought on just it's very pro wrestling, which I think suits college football.
Well, as a friend of mine on our Baylor thread pointed out, this is a great combo example of the Longhorns' arrogance and SEC's low academic standards. You knocked them off both at the same time. And I always thought, when you think about basket weaving, that does not seem like it would be easy. I tried to take it at Baylor, but it was too tough.
Yep, much less underwater in some cases, the underwater basket weaving. Yeah. But I was actually asking that earlier about, it's funny how everybody goes to the basket weaving thing, and there's actually like a history to it of why that's been mentioned for decades. But, people can read that if they want to.
I've known some Ole Miss players in the NFL who would struggle with basket weaving. And some Longhorns.
Yeah, to be fair on both sides.
But not the guys at Vanderbilt or Harvard. They would be just fine.
Yeah, or Baylor, of course.
Yes, of course. So I saw Jaguars at Wembley. Is that the only game the Texans know of as for right now? Or that's the one that I've seen at least in October, I believe, mid-October, October 16th, Wembley Stadium in London, Texans, Jaguars. Beyond that, anything that is of interest to you, at least as far as all of these leaks and thoughts on what the Texans have coming up here next season?
I sound like an old fogey, which I am. I don't care when they play. I don't care where. I just want to know what happens on the field. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing I'm interested in. I know the NFL is going to get to a point where they play an overseas game every week for 18 weeks. Every team's going to have to give up a home game, and they're going to make more and more and more money. And one of the reasons they play overseas, the big reason, not just to spread the brand, but gambling. If you think about all these countries where they're going, like the UK and Australia, they've been gambling way longer than we have. And they gamble on a lot more than we do. It's all, of course, tied in to money. I tell you what I do like. I like feature stories about the places they play and the stadiums in which they play. But once the game starts, I don't give a rat's where they're playing. I just want to watch the game on the field.
Yeah, that's true. Does it matter? How much do you watch when it's been on streaming, John? How much of that do you get into?
I don't subscribe to every streaming service, so I don't watch. I watch games on Prime Video.
Yep.
Because I get that, but Netflix, no. YouTube, no. I'm mainly concerned with the Texans, and anytime they're streaming, it's live here in Houston. And I'm not fanatical like I used to be, where I would watch every single game I could get my hands on. It's very confusing today, and there's so much back and forth, but I just want to see good product on the field.
So, John, David Montgomery in a Texans uniform, what are your expectations for him?
David Montgomery, running back from Detroit, has been a touchdown machine. Over the last 3 years, he has rushed for 33 touchdowns with a part-time role with Jahmyr Gibbs. Texans have rushed for 34 touchdowns. Last season, backing up Jahmyr Gibbs, he ran for 8 touchdowns. Texans ran for 9. They need a big back like him, 230 pounds. When they get down inside the 5-yard line, they don't have to rely on gimmick plays because they don't have a back can power it in. In all fairness to them, they didn't have Joe Mixon last year, and he had double-digit touchdowns the year before. But David Montgomery, behind a revamped offensive line, in which 2 or 3 players were signed specifically because they were really good run blockers. Their running game should be vastly improved. Person who benefits the most from that should be C.J. Stroud.
Is Joe Mixon just out there until somebody needs a running back, or is it just simply a question of like that injury? Like, what are your thoughts on him being just one of those various names that we recognize that's out there sort of in limbo right now?
We lost you. That froze up on us. Hold on. There we go. There we go, John. Sorry,
Hey, John,
it froze up
you
for a
there?
second. Go ahead, Craig.
I'm here.
Okay. John, what are your thoughts about Joe Mixon just kind of being one of those names out there that's not on a team right now? Is it a matter of like somebody will need a running back at some point during camp, or it's just the injury was severe? Like, what are your thoughts on him? And maybe even some of the other bigger names that have gotten older but are kind of just out there waiting for a phone call.
I'll be shocked if Joe Mixon ever plays again. There'll be a lot of players signing between the end of the mandatory mini camp in the middle of June and start of training camp. You know, there's some players like Jadeveon Clowney is a mercenary. You know, he's been in the league now since 2014, had 8.5 sacks for the Cowboys last year, a part-time role. They didn't bring him back, and they needed edge rushers. So he works out like crazy here in Houston, and then he finds a team that needs him. He doesn't charge him too much, and yet he's made a lot of money in his career for a guy that's never had double-digit sacks. So there are other veterans out there who'll have reality will strike, and their agents will say, look, this is your final offer. And they'll say, take it.
John, I was listening to a conversation earlier today about because the Cowboys and Giants open up the year on Sunday Night Football for what is the 20th year in a row, about both the Giants and Cowboys are getting a lot of love right now. No, the Giants with Harbaugh, and then the Cowboys, well, because and they did do a lot with their defense, et cetera. But they were talking about the new defensive coordinator who was a hot shot from Philadelphia and how everyone expects that to be immediately a success and can't get any worse than they were last year. How easy is that the first time you're a coordinator, no matter how successful you've been as a position coach?
It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Now, I think the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. They got a great offense. They somehow have avoided controversy with George Pickens not reporting. He's got a lot to play for, of course, and they've improved their defense. And anytime you're a first-year coordinator, you got a lot to learn. But I don't think Philadelphia is going to win the division for a third year in a row. And, yeah, the Giants should be improved. And what does that mean? They're going to win 6 or 7 games. And sorry, David, but I just don't see the Washington doing much, even if Jay Daniels stays healthy the whole season. So I think the Cowboys going back to the playoffs as a division champion.
I don't like you anymore.
Sorry.
You can't.
Neither does my wife.
Well, I know, and we are understanding of that. It's going to happen. Washington fans can't expect much more than a year at a time and then a gap. I get it.
But I want to ask, like, why does it feel like that window opened and closed the way that it did so quickly for them? Like, here we are 2 years ago, Jaden Daniels, Rookie of the Year. They're rolling to the playoffs. They're playing with NFC freaking title game. And then last year. And now it's like they're not even really in the conversation anymore. Like, what happened in the last year and a half?
Well, just losing the quarterback.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn's on a hot seat now, but if Daniels comes back and plays like he did as a rookie, then all of a sudden they're going to be a legitimate contender to them to be the team to dethrone the Eagles instead of the Cowboys.
Fair enough. I think that's fair to have just questions. Daniels is, I mean, especially in light of RG3, right? Like Washington fans especially can't just guarantee that this guy's going to come back and be great. One of the big announcements was, I believe, Bengals Chiefs right out of the gates. John, just your thoughts on, are we going to go back to the Chiefs as we knew them? Patrick Mahomes, are you expecting just kind of go back to where they were the talk of the league, or do you think it's going to be a stiffer climb for them coming up?
That's a great way to put it, Craig. I think it's going to be a stiffer climb. They don't have as much talent as they did. They made a really good signing in Kenneth Walker III to be their running back. And Mahomes, you hope he's 100% right off the bat. There's no cobwebs or rust, and he can play like he did before. It's not like he's gotten worse. It's not like he's old. Andy Reid, still a master play caller, but the division is so tough. As far as the Bengals, Zach Taylor's job's on the line. Joe Burrow's reputation, he's got to be healthy. He's got to play good from the get-go. And he's in a tough division too, just not as tough as the AFC West.
So I don't know if you've heard we brought up the Sarkisian comments, but so you had that going on. People are taking these shots at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin took a shot at Oxford in the racism type of slant. And then even John Sumrall responds kind of with a joke about basket weaving, et cetera. Does the NFL have enough trolls as head coaches, or is that something you can't do that in that league?
Oh, you could, but they don't. You like to think they've grown up and a little more mature. Now, Lane Kiffin, I can't wait till he goes to Ole Miss. There might not be a game that gets more pregame attention. You know, game day will be there. Big noon kickoff will be there. All those Ole Miss fans will be drunk the whole week. All the LSU fans that pay a fortune to buy the tickets will be drunk all season. And it will be one of the highest rated games ever. And just about everybody will be pulling against LSU because I can't remember a head coach who was more disliked than Kiffin. Respected, yes, but disliked, no. And he loves to play the villain role.
Yeah, he is definitely a troll. He definitely knows exactly what he's doing.
Good at
he
it.
leans
Yep.
into it. And man, whatever comes next, either his continued rise to where he suddenly wins a national title and validates everything, or his fall, it's just going to be fascinating to watch. That's week 3, by the way. That's September 19th, Ole Miss and LSU. So that's pretty early on in the season. And I'll leave you with this, John, because this just came out. You might have got the text as well, but Baylor-Auburn officially set for a 2:30 kickoff.
In Atlanta.
On ABC in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah, I'm glad it's indoors because you'd hate to play at Baylor Stadium or at Auburn at that time of the year and at that time of the day. Hopefully Baylor can get some revenge.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to go ahead.
What? That's the case with every college football team.
Yeah.
Though. Ohio State's going to be good. You just don't know to what degree. And everybody else in this era, you're just like, maybe they might be good. Maybe they might not. We have no idea.
Yeah, and it's they were really good in 21, didn't take advantage of it. Then 8-4, 2 years ago? But it's been 5 years of a mudslide. There's no question about it. As a Baylor alum, are you just fed up with it? Are you numb to it? How would you describe your emotions in football?
I've given up on it. I was hoping Dave Aranda would get fired and they would hire Eric Morris from North Texas, bring in Jared Mobley as the AD, and they would have gotten all those great players that Eric Morris took to Oklahoma State, starting with Drew Messemaker, who's going to be a high number 1 draft choice next year. But I'm always pulling for Baylor to win, and I always will. I think Doug McNamee's doing as good a job as you can by being out there. He seems to be very wise about how he approaches things, and I just hope he's not one of those administrators who'll talk to the national people individually but doesn't talk to the locals. I'm hoping he does. And Dave Aranda, he should be knocking on every one of your doors to go on every show, do every column, because his seat's so hot he can't sit.
Yeah, I think Aranda's trying to do that, and I think Doug gets that as far as where he needs to be. I've seen him on a few places and a few quotes on national columns as well. John, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you, the Hall of Famer that you are. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears. John McClain, Tuesdays in the 5 o'clock hour with Craig. And also, I'm David Smoke with the Smoke Show in 365 Sports.
Yeah, so nice to get that kickoff time, although that's going to be luckily indoors for a lot of people. Had that been outdoors in Auburn at 2:30 on September 5th, that would have been pretty toasty. So part of the reason to move indoors, mostly, though, for NIL money. And I don't know the details on that, so we'll see. But that was part of the allure of Auburn deciding to move a home game to Atlanta. And as far as do you realize this is year 7 for Dave Aranda?
Yes. No, I did.
You know how many great coaches didn't make it to 7 years at a school? 7 years. That's a long time, man. And I was just kind of going over their schedule, and I'm doing like a schedule. I'm doing an official on the record prediction for as many schools as I can between now and the season. And I've gotten through like 3 Big 12 schools. I'm going to do BYU tonight, and then Cincinnati, and then I'm going to go to the SEC, and then I'm going to go to the Big 10 and the ACC. And I think timing wise, we could probably end there and be okay. But if I have time, I'm going to roll in and say, screw it, let's do the pack. Like it just will all depend on timing, but I'm sitting there predicting Baylor's schedule, and you can go check it out for yourself. I'm not super optimistic because I don't really feel like there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. I mean, DJ Lagway is great, but it's not like he was the Heisman front runner that you pulled in the transfer portal. He's a guy that Florida fans were like, oh, thank God you got like they were for it. And when we last saw him, he was not playing well, nor was he healthy. So I don't think just getting him, I think the biggest thing we get in DJ Lagway was just to give the fans something to root for, like just something at all to root for, because outside of that, the only other notable thing that they've done is replace another defensive coordinator, which they've done like 4 times under Aranda in 5, 6, 7 years now. Twice over, it's been him calling plays. So pardon me, Clanderman, but we've seen Ron Roberts and Matthew Powledge and Aranda twice over, and like every guy known to man. So Clanderman's not really like, man, we're on to something here. You hope that some of that familiarity and some of those K-State guys he brought in the portal will make it a smooth transition. But yeah, that's it. Like you replaced another coordinator, and maybe he's great, but it's just not reason right now to be excited about it because you've seen them do it so many times. And then you got DJ Lagway, which is great, but yeah, beyond that, I think this is a real big question mark. I do think Aranda's trying to do what he can, but when you really put it into perspective, this is what I said in that video too. It's the 5th year anniversary of 2021. Like they had their greatest year ever in 2021. They are now celebrating the 5th year anniversary of that. That's crazy. That's how fast time flies, or maybe it doesn't if you're a fan of that program, but like that's more than enough time to figure some things out. I really wonder what would have happened at the end of last year if Mack Rhodes doesn't find himself in a situation.
Oh, you know the answer.
He would have fired him?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Now, yes, without a doubt, that was happening. There was kind of a very quiet look and see, but nothing really that was a search, but a preliminary let's look and see. And then because of that, and for Dave, good for Dave, but no, I think that was done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Dave Aranda, the person. I've had no bad experience with him, so I don't like rooting for people to lose their jobs like in so many ways. But I also do look at it from like there are Baylor fans that wanted him gone 3-4 years ago. It's year 7. Like great coaches don't make it to year 7.
Having said that, on my Twitter timeline earlier today, there was questions about, there's somebody, CF Budge or whatever, and we might use that tomorrow about here are the 8 or 9 things that could happen. And one of them was Baylor will be as good as Dave Aranda's defense carries them. Well, it's really not his defense. No. I know it is, but it's not. It's Joe Clanderman. He has actually said, I'm not doing it. He's going to. Now, you got to be careful because you've gotten so many coordinators have come and gone from Dave Roberts to whatever else, and he's not going to handle the defense. He might have information he wants to share, opinions, but Joe Clanderman, and I know that for a fact, is running the defense, changing things up. So that really won't be whether or not he sinks or swim. It's going to be that win-loss record, no matter how it happens.
Yeah, no,
what it is.
And I like Budge, but he cover a lot of programs, and yeah, like that's not Dave Aranda's defense, and that was the thing last year, and 2 years ago, and 3 years ago.
And you know what the reaction was from people? Well, it doesn't matter. Yes, it is. I said, no, he's not handling the defense this year.
No, Joe Clanderman.
But that won't be if the defense is good, but they still win 5 or 6 games. It doesn't matter. But he's not the one who is in control.
No, I have much more questions about DJ Lagway running the offense than I do the defense. Quite frankly, I think the defense will be fine. I think the offense with Spavital and Lagway, just however that operates,
has a chance. But
yeah, but like, is it going to because they were pretty statistically good last year, but it didn't amount to anything.
No.
It amounted to 5 and 7 with Sawyer Robertson at quarterback. Is DJ Lagway as good right now as Sawyer Robertson was then? I don't think so.
We don't know because we don't know. We haven't seen him healthy.
Yeah.
And so we'll see if that matters, plus a few of the incoming people. But they had to beef up.
But
the
there's
offense
also
and defensive lines.
no reason to believe that like the defense is going to carry them in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, I mean, we can just agree to disagree on the verbiage there. But I'm glad to see kickoff times. It's cool they're rolling in. Auburn, that'll obviously be a huge game for them with Alex Golish and his big debut and getting a power win right out of the gates, or getting a really bad loss right out of the gates. So yeah, for both those head coaches, one starting and one trying to hang on for as long as possible, and that'll be a nice little early season game for all us fans out there.
Kim saying the Texas Tech will win the national championship before the Cowboys win the NFC East.
I was going to say before Dave Aranda gets fired.
Yeah, damn.
But before the Cowboys win the NFC East, they wouldn't. I don't know.
I think that's what he said. You never know. He gets in that thing. There's a lot of I think that's what he said. Yep.
I mean, I would definitely take Texas Tech to win a national championship before the Cowboys win another Super Bowl. I would absolutely take your side on that one. I don't know about a division, but yeah, we'll see. We will see. It's an interesting bet.
Yep. All right. Something's going on in the chat where they have gold coins that they're sharing with people. I don't know what the hell that means. We'll try to figure that out. All right, let's go to the wheel with Mr. Rez Michelangelo in Florida. A lot of topics. No, there's a lot of big spaces.
It always tricks me.
Good question. Greg?
For some reason, this game just popped into my head.
Let's read the question.
Is there one game you wish you could go back and watch for the first time? There was one that for real, just completely out of nowhere popped into my head. I don't know if it would actually be my answer, but it is just humorous to me. Oklahoma 77, Texas A&M nothing back in
oh dear God
2003. Will they score 100 points?
You're such a hater.
Like I said, it was funny. That's why I don't know why that popped. It's not a game I think about very often, but it's just humorous. Oklahoma 77 nothing over A&M back in 2003. I wouldn't mind going back and watching that again. You know, the game, sorry for Kim, the game that I really probably enjoyed more than any other, though, was Florida-Nebraska. The national title game was great.
62-24, you mean? Yep.
I'd love to relive that. Tommy Frazier's spin touchdown down the sideline. But I think as far as just like all the components, and this is not because you just mentioned Kim, but Oklahoma 65, Texas Tech 21 back in 2008 with the three-way race between Tech, OU, and Texas. And Texas loses to Tech on the Crabtree catch.
Which is still remarkable how he peeled away.
That's still one of the craziest. I mean, that's right there, the kick six. The band is on the field. Like, that's right there in that category.
Our buddy Eric was no. The Auburn game with Alabama, which was the kick six.
That was the kick six.
Yeah, he was at that game.
Yeah, the kick six.
Yeah.
So I would say, with that whole race in 2008, just the South Division that they had at the time, those three, and Texas beats OU, and then Texas Tech beats Texas, and then here's this OU Texas Tech game, and
it wasn't close.
It was a night game, and ABC was there, and the fans were frothing at the mouth, and they just beat their ass and made them like it. And I still vividly see the pictures of Leach and Harrell standing on the sidelines, just like with no answers. Like there's nothing they could do. They knew what it was.
Yep.
So yeah, that was just a really fun game because I was in Norman for that. So that's part of why that was a big one for me.
So former sponsor Kim Coulter of the Smoke Show and 365 Sports.
You know what? Last year's Big 12 title game.
Yeah, there we go. We were at that one. I was. Yeah, you weren't. You didn't go to that. I
was very sick.
Oh, okay. Oh, golly, what would mine be? Is it have to be football?
I mean, I guess not.
No,
not
it would. We were at the Florida-Nebraska game, so I've already been there.
It's just to go back and watch for the first time.
To be down on the sideline to watch it would have been great, but we were pretty damn close. I'll say that one. No. The year before, when they got rid of the Miami jinx of losing 31-30 and not beating the Hurricanes, and they won their first national title with Osborne, and Frazier did come in at the end to kind of rescue that game, but Behringer was involved, so I'll take that game. All right, now.
All right.
They wore Warren Sapp asses out. He could not breathe. Let's get to one of the first. Here's the quiz. May 12th, 1970, which legendary Chicago Cubs Hall of Famer famously hit his 500th career home run at Wrigley Field, becoming just the 9th player in Major League Baseball history to reach the milestone?
I would think it's got to be Ernie Banks,
It's
right?
got to be either Santo or Banks, but I don't think Santo hit more than like 300 and something. Fergie Jenkins, and no, not him. In 70, it's got to be Ernie Banks.
Yeah, Sandberg was 80s, 90s.
Sandberg was much later. Santo was good, but not that kind of home run good, so it's Ernie Banks. Ernie Banks.
At 39 years old, Mr. Cub sent a blast into the left field bleachers against the Braves to join the 500 home run club, two-time NL MVP and first black player in Cubs history. Banks was ultimate ambassador for the game, though he famously never appeared in a World Series. His infectious optimism and "let's play two" catchphrase made him the first player to have his number 14 retired by the franchise.
Unbelievable guy. Incredible gentleman. One of the greatest to never win a championship or a World Series. Santo had 342 home runs, so I was pretty dead on with that one. All right, so we got that one. We're 1-0. Can we carry the momentum? May 12th of 2019, which superstar hit the first ever Game 7 buzzer beater to win a series in NBA history, a shot that famously bounced on the rim 4 times before falling?
Was that Kawhi?
Got to be Kawhi, because those other guys would not have been in that moment, I don't think, at that time, although it's got to be Kawhi.
Yeah,
has to be Kawhi.
I remember it's Kawhi.
Yeah. Kawhi Leonard, who went from San Antonio to Toronto to eventually, what was it, Sacramento? I mean, the
L.A.
Yep.
Simply known as the shot, Leonard's off-balance corner jumper over Joel Embiid secured a 92-90 victory for the Raptors. 4 bounces on the rim became one of the most iconic images in NBA history, propelling Toronto to the Eastern Conference Finals and eventually their first ever NBA championship. Remains the only Game 7 buzzer beater to end a series in league history.
Boy, he was on a run, huh? I hate the fact that the way he left San Antonio with all that, not real sure what was the truth with the injuries, the staff, or he just wanted out of town.
There was, I think, all of that. I think family involvement, wanted to go somewhere else. I think all of that was in play. I mean, cool for him that he got to go win a title kind of on his own and separate from the Spurs, but it does feel like just injuries and resting and, I don't know, being on the Clippers. I don't feel like I see very much Kawhi Leonard anymore. And I'm not the most devoted NBA fan, so that's part of it as well. But yeah, that was a memorable run, though. The Raptors and Kawhi leading the charge. I remember that vividly. And plus, it wasn't that long ago.
No, it
either,
wasn't.
so.
That's 7 years ago. Exactly 7 years ago. Kawhi was a hell of a player. All right, and still is. No, kind of. Let's go to the poll results from you today, including is Kiffin's branding hurdle at Ole Miss a real recruiting barrier? 76% said it's just an excuse for him leaving. 24% branding is a hurdle.
Yeah, so his whole comments about Ole Miss being a racist institution and it's hard to recruit players there and all that. Like I like the branding hurdle is a very safe and just like a basic way to summarize all that he said. I like that. Yeah, I think it's part of an excuse for leaving. I think it's also him taking shots at a competitor and trying to belittle them or make them look bad. And now it's not lost on me that he's telling every young black kid in recruiting that he's going to come across, if they're also interested in Ole Miss, why LSU is a better school because of the money and Baton Rouge is better and this and that, but also this factor too. Like I don't think there was any thing but intention to have that in the ether. So yeah, I think part of an excuse for leaving, I think is also part of his recruiting strategy. I think it's playing his little game there. And I also do wonder, we were talking about Ole Miss earlier and why is Muschamp and Sark and Kiffin, everybody taking shots at them. I think, yes, it's because they've won here as of late. I don't know how threatened those guys are by Pete Golding, like keeping it going necessarily, but I also think it's just a really prime opportunity to kick them while they're down and knock them down a couple pegs if you can, because they are experiencing changeover.
Yeah.
So now kick them while they're kind of incombobulated a little bit. But yeah, certainly if they were Mississippi State and, like, all due respect, just not really in the conversation, I don't know that the Texas coaches and Lane are popping off, but Lane and Ole Miss obviously have that connection. It makes sense.
I thought the article in Vanity Fair with Kiffin, I thought that was a really big-time cheap shot that was unnecessary.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's what he does.
And then he goes, I hope Ole Miss fans aren't mad at me. Of course, you knew you were going to get them pissed off. And, yes, Oxford and Ole Miss, the Rebels, and they have a history of bad stuff that went on in the South. But let's just not act like the lower bottom right of Louisiana is just as good as it can be. I mean, that's the crazy part.
How about we read some current headlines out of Louisiana politically and see how up on fairness and everything. I think he's coming from a place timing wise where it was very peculiar given the articles and the conversation about Louisiana. That I think kind of multiplied what he said. And it's like, wait a second, now you're saying that, this week you're saying that when there's this conversation happening about Louisiana. So I don't anticipate that he probably keeps up with politics too much. That might not have been on his radar, but trolling Ole Miss, taking a shot at them and trying to make them look bad was very intentional. And his act is so see-through. But when you kind of look at, speaking of politics, like the politicians in various circles and how constituents will just go with whatever they say, no matter what they say or how they say it, there's people that are probably reading Lane Kiffin. Most of us are smart enough to know what he's doing. Most of us know exactly what he's doing. He's taking shots. And then there's a segment of people that are like, he's so honest and transparent and such, and that's who he's pandering to.
They could September 19th, LSU at Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. Yeah. And Paxton says, doesn't Ole Miss and Oxford have a history of racism? Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
History means used to be. I'm sure they get a lot of cities, but yes, of course. But the SEC's filled with those type of
so does
history.
Louisiana and Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee and Texas and so on and so forth. So
Arkansas.
it's not like it was like they're the only ones doing it.
Yeah.
Now it might be I don't know. I didn't delve too far in his comments, and I'm not trying to get political in here. So I don't know. I don't know if he would have made comments about other players. I just felt that it was him taking a specific shot.
Yeah,
there won't be people smart enough to go, well, aren't you in Louisiana?
Yeah, it's kick them while they're.
Isn't the majority of the SEC and former slave states?
If they were 2-10 last year, he would never have said that. All right, so.
Exactly.
One more. The poll question to close it out. How many regular season wins will BYU finish with? Regular season, not conference championship game or a bowl game or the playoff. How many regular season wins will BYU have in 2026?
I feel great about at least 10. I do. I'll do an official prediction on them tonight, actually, and we'll release that tomorrow. But yeah, I feel looking at their schedule, there's not a lot of doubts on there. There's a couple toss-up games, but beyond that, I feel like on paper, not knowing the wild cards that are coming our way, like injuries and things, that there's not more than maybe 1 or 2 games you're not going to take them as favorites right this very moment. And I don't know what would change between now and the season outside of those wild cards that I mentioned. So yeah, I'd feel great about putting money on 10 and feel very confident in that. I do think I know that's a lot of wins. So if Arizona snuck up and bit them in Provo or Arizona State or something, that could happen.
Arizona's getting some not high level heat of love, but they're in that conversation.
They're getting too much for my liking. Yeah, actually, I do think they're going to be good, but they're getting a lot of they're right there with Tech and BYU, and I'm just not there with them yet. I think they're going to be in that tier right below that. But yeah, there's nothing that says they can't beat BYU, and they play them the second week of the season in Provo. So they could jump out early in the season and just bite them. And then you still have to play Utah, and you still got to play Arizona State, I believe, is on the schedule. Oh yeah, Notre Dame, but that's in Provo. That's going to be really interesting. I know Notre Dame fans that I've seen feel like that's a gimme win, and that's going to be a hell of an atmosphere. That better be at night.
And then on the road against TCU, who should be a part of a conversation, at least in that upper third of the Big 12.
If BYU Notre Dame is not a night game, then the Irish really do run college football.
Yeah.
If that's a 2:30 kickoff and the sun's out, no.
That needs to be a night game.
Yeah,
all right,
sure.
so there we are. Andrew Valade, Jiu-Jitsu, thank you very much. Rez, appreciate you. And our guest today, we appreciate. Tomorrow, Tim Brando, among others. We'll have all that for you tomorrow at 3. Thanks to Logan, who's here today. Garrett, who's also here today. Thanks to you who watch us on 365 Sports YouTube and The Smoke Show. For Craig, I'm David Smoke. Good night. Have a great night here on a Tuesday night around this great country.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.